and blessings, greetings, and welcome to Shoot the Breeze on the Bitter Medicine Podcast. I'm your host, Jacadero, filling in for Koku. But you're probably wondering, Jacadero, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Why is Jacadero? Why is he hosting? Because I can. Because I am. Because you guys will love it. What do we got today on Shoot the Breeze topics? Will South Africa become the Haiti of the 21st century? What exactly is, or who exactly is funding the African Union? And will Afrikaners be the face of American segregation in the 21st century? All that and much more coming on episode 197 of Shoot the Breeze podcast on the Bitter Medicine.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio. Welcome to the Bitter Medicine Podcast, where it's all about Black empowerment. Our show focuses on Black news and entertainment, arts, science, economics, history, people, and strategies that uplift, empower, and motivate Africans within the diaspora. And now your host, whose favorite color is black, Goku.
Welcome back to the Bitter Medicine Podcast. I am...
Whoops. I'm not Koku. I'm Jacadero. But what's awesome is that you guys are rocking with me today. And let's go ahead and announce that you guys can go ahead and click in the link if you guys are watching live. You guys want to participate, become panels on the Shoot the Breeze episode 197. Also, let's go ahead and let's have you guys get to know what station it is that you guys are rocking with.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio.
This is D Webb with the Harsh Reality Podcast, asking you to tune in where we tackle the news of the day that affects our community, only on KWAZ Radio.
Peace, family. This is Oni, inviting you to listen to the pro-Black perspective, where Black problems are addressed with Black solutions.
Greetings, fam. Tune in to The Learning Curve with me, the Revolutionary Matron on KWAZ Radio.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio.
Awesome. Once again, welcome to Shoot the Breeze, episode 197 on the Bitter Medicine Podcast. I'm your host today, Jacadero, and I'm filling in for Koku. It's an honor. It's a pleasure. Let's see what we got as far as in the chat. In the chat, we have viewers. Anthony, big shout out to Anthony. Big shout out to everybody from KWAZ Radio as well. All right. As far as topics for today, we'll begin our first topic with something that has been on people's minds. Let's go ahead and get that set. And it is, will South Africa become the Haiti of the 21st century? That is to say, will the West never forgive South Africa and its Afrikaner imagination for its Black majority rule to date? All right. And before we get into some of the panelists that want to hop on, let's at least view the video from Shoot the Breeze prompt number 1.
South Africans, and let us be blunt, many white South Africans who fear Julius Malema. Some of them have said to me, if Malema gets to power or close to power, I will leave this country. Do you welcome their fear, or do you want to find ways to overcome their fear?
I don't welcome their fear. Stephen, they said that about Mandela, the most celebrated Mandela. You're talking about me. They said if Mandela, a prisoner, becomes the president, who will live in this country, and they left. I was in the Val River the other day, looking at some of the houses that whites abandoned in 1994 when Mandela became a president. They are not scared of Julius Malema. They are scared of an independent black man who's not controlled by any white person, who's not controlled by London.
You know there are some South Africans, and let us be blunt, many white South Africans who fear Julius Malema. Some of them have said to me, if Malema gets to power or close to power, I will leave this country. Do you welcome their fear, or do you want to find ways to overcome their fear?
I don't welcome their fear. Stephen, they said that about Mandela, the most celebrated Mandela. You're talking about me. They said if Mandela, a prisoner, becomes the president, who will live in this country, and they left. I was in the Val River the other day, looking at some of the houses that whites abandoned in 1994 when Mandela became a president. They are not scared of Julius Malema. They are scared of an independent black man who's not controlled by any white person, who's not controlled by London.
All right. And let's go ahead and... All right. Before we get into discussion about the topic for Shoot the Breeze number 1, let's introduce some of our panelists. Let's go ahead and bring them onto the stage. First, Black Steel. Black Steel, how you doing?
Oh, we got a substitute teacher today? Oh, no. I didn't know we was having a sub. How you doing, man?
I'm in a good mood, and just know that there will be a pop quiz today. Don't you forget it.
Dang
Take
it.
your notes.
Okay, all right. I'm doing good, man. I'm glad. I'm fighting a little cold, but I'm feeling better, so I'm ready to get into it, man. I hope everything's good with you.
Yes, sir. Anthony, welcome to the show. What's going on? Anthony, you with us? Anthony, you with us? All right. Before we get into the discussion, let's read some of the comments from the chat. Forecast Radio says, "What up? What up?" And then Anthony says he'll be up in a minute. He's fixing a drink. So Anthony, if when you get done fixing your drink, come on through. D Webb says, "Peace family to D Webb." War Drum RBG. What's going on, War Drum? Peace and blessings. Pan-Africanism forever. Afro Navy World says, "Yo, happy y'all back." We're happy to be back. And again, I'm very fortunate and very honored to be filling in for Koku. All right. Well, since Black Steel, talk to me about being a substitute teacher, let me go ahead and substitute Anthony for the first voice. And Black Steel, what are your thoughts on the first prompt and Malema's words?
I think he's accurate. I think the fear is not so much of white people getting, their land stolen, or white people being forgiven, right? It's the idea that black people take control of their destiny is really the issue. South Africa is coming to the news fairly often recently. First, with the whole thing about the white genocide and the poor Afrikaners escaping their destruction. I've never heard of a genocide where less than 60 people are trying to leave it. But okay, whatever. It's completely politically motivated. It's white people, they like to project their issues, right? So when white people are claiming a genocide, just know they're already in the middle of committing a genocide themselves. When white people are making threats or making their own issues of we're in danger, our way of life is under attack, just know they're already attacking somebody else's way of life. So I think that just the whole thing about South Africa being the next Haiti, they would if they could, but also too the issue about South Africa, when they basically called United States and Israel to task for the International Criminal Court for the issue of Palestine. They said they were committing genocide. This is something that has stuck in the craw of the Western powers. How dare these black savages accuse us of committing a crime that we're obviously committing in front of the world? How dare they? That's just supposed to be quiet and take it. So a lot of the anger, a lot of the frustration that they've been expressing towards South Africa is just really based on them not being able to forgive them. And we should ask for their forgiveness, of course, and it's ridiculous. It's a sad thing, really, looking at how the Europeans have constantly taken advantage of South Africa. Just think about it, right? White people, these Afrikaners, they went to South Africa. They know they make up 10% of the population. They control 70% of the wealth. They committed all sorts of crimes against the African population. I mean, think about Soweto, how they just murdered people for protesting, having to speak Afrikaans in school. They just mowed those people down, no remorse. They subjected the African population to all types of humiliating rituals. They had to carry a passbook. They couldn't live outside their so-called Bantu stands. They couldn't live within white neighborhoods. And this is in Africa. They're doing all this. They were working on making weapons of mass destruction. To this date, the only African nation that ever possessed a nuclear weapon has been apartheid South Africa. And those weapons were meant to attack other African nations. They invaded and waged war on other African nations like Namibia, like Angola, Swaziland. They were working on making biological weapons to kill Africans before apartheid ended. So you have all this list of atrocities and violence that they committed against the African population. And here they are mad at taking the farmland back. Oh, it's white genocide. It's white genocide, It's quite a ridiculous statement when you think about it. Oh, we can never forgive these Africans for taking back their land or trying to be an independent nation or just redistributing their wealth. Oh, we can't do that. And in reality, it's just these white people just being psychopaths at the end of the day. And what threatens them is the end of their domination. They can't coexist peacefully with other people. History has shown that they can't coexist peacefully. If they're not in a position of domination, they would rather die. And this is where the issue is. So, but one thing too is funny is that now that Trump and Musk have broken up, because it was really Musk pushing that white genocide thing in Trump's ear. So now Trump is an incredibly petty, spiteful individual. I think that this opens up the scene for new possibilities, because now, as a finger to Musk, Trump might reverse his whole thing about white South Africa. It's going to be interesting to see, because at this point they're beefing, and Musk is openly calling for Trump to be impeached from office. Trump is rolling back the subsidies from the Tesla cars that he got. He even sold his Tesla car he had. So it's interesting. We'll see what may happen. when these two white people, these two white oligarchs and white psychopaths argue amongst each other, who knows what might come out of this? So I'll go ahead and I'll leave it there. Thanks.
Good insight, Black Steel. Appreciate it. All right, Anthony, are you with us? You done fixing your drink?
Yeah, what's up, man? What's up, Jackadero?
What's going on? How are you, man?
I'm doing fine. How you doing, Black Steel?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. How are you?
Yeah, damn, that was a good commentary, man. Man, you know, it's kind of funny, man, not hearing Koku's voice, but Jackadero, your voice is great, though, brother. But,
I appreciate it.
Let me see if I can keep it, because Black Steel did a great job. I'm gonna say, you know, the irony of this, the irony of the whole thing. Here you go, you got some honkies crying about people stealing their land, and they going to some more honkies who stole some other people's land. You know what I'm saying? You know, the Afrikaners going to and Elon Musk going to Trump, you know, who's an American, and you know, an American is just a white, a European settler, you know, who came over here and stole the land from the indigenous people here, you know, who was in this land. You know what I'm saying? And they, you know, it's just the two of them, you know, just the very idea. You know what I'm saying, Black Steel, of white folks in the United States or in Canada or in Australia or New Zealand complaining, you know, about white folks in South Africa getting their land stolen. You know, getting their land to, you know, when all of them were settler colonies, settler states, just like South Africa was. You know what I'm saying? And they did the same thing to the people who live where they lived at. You know, so you know that's just the irony of that. You know what I'm saying? But then, you know, white folks stick together. You know what I'm saying? Especially when it's money and resources and, you know what I'm saying, things involved that they interested in. You know what I'm saying? Like the minerals and the diamonds and the gold and everything. You know, they're gonna stick together so they can keep exploiting all of that. But about the problem about South Africa becoming a Haiti. One thing before I even say that, I address that. One thing we got to get clear: South Africa is not an independent country. It's not a black ruled country. You know what I'm saying? They never have been. Not even when Nelson Mandela was president. You know what I'm saying? That was a fake government. That was a sham government, a puppet government. Okay, you know, yeah, you got black faces, but behind the scenes, who was running that country was still them same white folks who've been running it. You know what I'm saying? Because they, like Black Steel said, they control most of the land, all of the good land, at least about 70-some% of the land. They control all the economy, the natural resources, the minerals, and all of that shit. They will control the military. You know what I'm saying? So it ain't never been free. But I think if it ever get free, I think that the Western powers, if they can, they're gonna do the best that they can to make it into a Haiti, to destabilize it. You know what I'm saying? You know, just like they destabilized Congo. You know how they would love to destabilize Nigeria if Nigeria ever got itself together. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, I mean, like, all of Africa is important, but you know, these countries like Congo, South Africa, Nigeria, you know, these are very important countries. You know what I'm saying? They have the biggest economies or the biggest mineral wealth and, you know, natural resources and, you know, things of that nature. So, I mean, they're the countries that they would love to keep destabilized. And so, yes, I think they would try to do everything they can to destabilize. That's why they have, you know, bullshit like xenophobia, you know, with brothers and sisters in South Africa wanting to kill brothers and sisters from neighboring countries. You know, y'all foreigners. But you ain't calling this honky who came here and stole the land and been exploiting you for 300-400 years. He not a foreigner. And so, yeah, I think that they will try to destabilize it if black people ever get themselves together. You know what I'm saying? And actually take control of the country. Yeah, I think they would try to destabilize it. I'll leave my plane. I'll land right there.
Pretty interesting, huh? I appreciate it, Anthony. You know, for anybody else, you know, we're just still getting into the show. Once again, I'm Jacadero filling in for Koku on Shoot the Breeze episode 197 on the Bitter Medicine podcast. And the topic for number one's prompt is, will South Africa become the Haiti of the 21st century? And will South Africa ever be forgiven for its black majority rule to date? So just to just to
one thing I want to add something, Jackie Dale. So I don't mean to cut you off too.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
One thing I also forgot to mention that South Africa is very prominent in the BRICS movement, right? The BRICS represents a challenge to the Western hegemony. Basically, you're talking about basically it's Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, right? These people are trying to create a space because at this time, we basically be living in the financial system that was created by the West at the end of World War II. And the United States has used its economic power, its sanction power as a weapon. There was I forgot who the dude who was. He said he'll make your economy scream. They'll sanction people. That was happening in Cuba. It was to Venezuela, Iran. So South Africa, being one of the founding members of the BRICS, is trying to get from under the thumb of the Western powers, and Trump has threatened to sanction all countries that are in the BRICS or trying to de-dollarize. The United States dollar is the world's reserve currency. So there are all these nations that are trying to remove themselves or be free of U.S. hegemony. He threatened to tariff them 100%, 100% tariffs on their goods. So this is another reason that South Africa is being seen as can't be forgiven or being seen as hostile. And Jose, I did mention earlier about the International Criminal Court case between Palestine, between South Africa. But yeah, so the BRICS, black people taking back their land. White people, they don't like to take L's, they don't like to take losses. What happened in Rhodesia? That's considered an L, right? Black majority rule in South Africa, that's considered a loss. They don't like to take losses. They're very salty about that. So I think that as the BRICS nations become stronger, they start to organize. As the United States continues to commit suicide internationally and domestically, you're going to start to see a lot more vitriol directed towards South Africa.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's something to think about. Before we maybe get Anthony's last thoughts, let's read some comments. Daily Affirmation says, good evening. Good evening, Daily Affirmations. Jose says, hey, fellas. Real Black Gentleman says, graces to the fam. Real Black Gentleman, what up? Jose says, I wonder why those clowns are not in jail for treason. True indeed.
Well, the reason they're not in jail is because they had this whole Truth and Reconciliation Committee at the end of apartheid. So the idea was that, and this was, Bishop Desmond Tutu, he said, hey, if you come out here, you confess your crimes, then we'll let no harm done, we'll just let all bygones be bygones, So that's how we learned about South Africa's biological weapons program. That's the dude just admitted, yeah, I did it. And the idea was that they would be forgiven if they confess, their sins. It is funny to me, but yeah, that's probably why they're not in jail.
I did not know that. Another thing I didn't know is Jose said that Trump back in 2018 sent a delegation to South Africa to see if there was targeted killings going on. And it took 4 months to conclude that it was nonsense. Jose, I did not know that. Black Steel Anthony, were you guys aware of that?
No, I was not. That's news to me. Yeah, I
remember hearing
about it. And then War Drum says all of Africa and the Caribbean should stop using white people's blueprint for governance, creating a hybrid system that uses what is good and discard what is not. Another one that I wanted to highlight is Trigger Happy. What's going on, Trigger Happy? And he says, sometimes South Africa is counted as the West. Should tell you everything about its control. Very, very, very interesting. It's oftentimes that the West looks at South Africa out of all the African nations as its second home, as its primary home in Africa. And it's black rule for this long, right? I think 1992 is when Mandela became president of South Africa, ending apartheid. And still to date, the West feels like they can control South Africa, even with a black majority government. Anthony, any last remarks on the Shoot the Breeze topic number 1? All right. Anthony? Okay. Well, we'll see if Anthony comes back. In the meantime, let's go to Shoot the Breeze topic number 2, and that is, who is funding the African Union? And with its current trajectory, will Africa ever be a sovereign continent in the 21st century? Hey. Go ahead.
Hey, I'm sorry, Jack. I fell off for a minute. I'm back.
No worries. Introducing Shoot the Breeze topic number 2 again. Who is funding the African Union? And with its current trajectory, will Africa ever be a sovereign continent in the 21st century? And we have a video just for that. Stand by.
Now saying that the African Union is neither African nor a union because of the following reasons. For an institution tasked with driving African unity, independence, and dignity, the African Union's persistent reliance on foreign donors to fund the majority of its operations is a scandal of epic proportions. 2024, out of AU's total budget of $605 million, a staggering 61% came from international partners. These include the European Union, the United States, China, and United Nations, all of whom now sit at the high table of African decision-making through their deep pockets. This isn't development aid. This is a betrayal of African sovereignty. The AU's own member states only managed to raise $235 million, less than half of what is required to run an institution meant to represent 1.5 billion Africans. Even worse, for peacekeeping operations, arguably the most urgent and sensitive of AU's responsibilities, are funded entirely by donors. That is not continental ownership. It is continental outsourcing. In 2016, African leaders launched an ambitious reform plan led by Rwanda's President Paul Kagame. One of its flagship ideas was a 0.2 levy on eligible imports, a mechanism meant to fund the AU sustainably and reclaim Africa's agency. Yet nearly a decade later, this solution remains crippled by political cowardice and economic dishonesty. Only 17 out of 55 AU member states have implemented the levy. The rest continue to grumble about sovereignty while lining up behind the scenes for handouts. The levy was projected to raise $1.4 billion annually, enough to fund the AU in full. But the unwillingness of the member states to operationalize this model has kept Africa's most important institution in the humiliating position of begging Western and Eastern powers for survival. As of late 2023, only 31 member states had paid their full annual contributions. That means many Africans are now saying that the African Union is neither African nor a union because of the following reasons. For an institution tasked with driving African unity, independence, and dignity, the African Union's persistent reliance on foreign donors to fund the majority of its operations is a scandal of epic proportions. In 2024, out of AU's total budget of $605 million, a staggering 61% came from international partners. These include the European Union, the United States, China, and United Nations, all of whom now sit at the high table of African decision-making through their deep pockets. This isn't development aid. This is a betrayal of African sovereignty. The AU's own member states only managed to raise $235 million, less than half of what is required to run an institution meant to represent 1.5 billion Africans. Even worse, peacekeeping operations, arguably the most urgent and sensitive of AU's responsibilities, are funded entirely by donors. That is not continental ownership. It is continental outsourcing. In 2016, African leaders launched an ambitious reform plan led by Rwanda's President Paul Kagame. One of its flagship ideas was a 0.2 levy on eligible imports, a mechanism meant to fund the AU sustainably and reclaim Africa's agency. Yet nearly a decade later, this solution remains crippled by political cowardice and economic dishonesty. Only 17 out of 55 AU member states have implemented the levy. The rest continue to grumble about sovereignty while lining up behind the scenes for handouts. The levy was projected to raise $1.4 billion annually, enough to fund the AU in full. But the unwillingness of the member states to operationalize this model has kept Africa's most important institution in the humiliating position of begging Western and Eastern powers for survival. As of late 2023, only 31 member states had paid their full annual contributions. That means...
All right. So, who is funding the African Union? What is current trajectory? Will Africa ever be a sovereign continent in the 21st century? Before we get into the panelists' thoughts in the chat, let me know if prompt number 1, video from prompt number 1, and video from prompt number 2 were as fast and did not have a leg on it. Anthony, we left off with you, so we're going to start with you on your thoughts. Who is funding the African Union?
Well, we know the EU funds the African Union. You know, that's we know that. I mean, it was a few years ago. When I say a few years ago, I mean it might have been 6-7 years ago that I remember the building. What the EU funded the building of the new AU building. You know, the meeting place where they meet at. I think it's in Addis Ababa. I think. Well, you know, they funded the building of that place. You know what I'm saying? So yes, the African Union has always, since its existence, has always been funded, at least in part, by the West. I mean, even going back to the days of the OAU, the Organization of African Unity. I mean, I know Carver testified to that when they created it, it really wasn't what the progressive leaders in Africa wanted. It was really like what they settled for. You know what I'm saying? The OAU. In 1963, it really what they settled for. You know, it really was a sham too, man. You know, it wasn't what they wanted. Because it was controlled, the purse strings to fund that organization was controlled by the West. I can remember I was a teenager, I was in junior high school, and I'm in my civics class, and we talked about it. Our teacher talked about it. It was President William Talbot, who was the president of Liberia. He was the sitting president, sitting president of the OAU, because it rotated like every couple of years. Now he was the sitting president for those for that time. I think it was in 79, 80. Okay, now William Talbot was different from the previous presidents, from Tubman and the previous guy. He was a Pan-Africanist, and he spoke out against apartheid in South Africa, against the apartheid regime in South Africa, and more importantly, he spoke out against Western imperialism, and he spoke on the Israeli with the Palestinian question. He spoke out against the Israelis. And you know what happened to him? He got assassinated. You know what I'm saying? In April 1980, he got killed, overthrown by Samuel Doe. So I'm saying, if you go against what the puppet master says you don't need to go against, shit happen to you. So right there, let you know, if we can go down the list of presidents, African presidents, who got assassinated, because they went against the grain, against the program of what the West wanted. You know what I'm saying? When it went to apartheid, when it went to the Marxist communism, like influence from Russia, because they had the whole Cold War, the East-West thing going on, and we can just go down the list of leaders who got assassinated. Thomas Sankara. You know what I'm saying? But yes, of course, man. The OAU / the African Union has always been funded by the EU. It's always been funded by the EU. And like I remember, like Koku used to say, man, about the barrel maker. You know what I'm saying? You got to dance to the barrel maker tune. You know what I'm saying? Or else, or you got to be ready to fight the barrel maker. But yeah, man. I mean, in the second question, will Africa be independent? Yes, Africa will be independent if everybody do what the Sahel State brothers doing. You know what I'm saying? If we could get our courage up enough to say enough with this here, it's either freedom or death. We're gonna be free, or we're gonna die, or we're gonna die trying to be free. I mean, that's the only thing, because you can't compromise. Like Black Steel said, these people ain't never lived peacefully side to side with nobody. They ain't never lived peacefully side to side with their damn selves. They had 100 years wars and 30 years wars. You know what I'm saying? And so they damn sure not gonna do that with some people or with a cousin that they look at as subservient. That, hey, these used to be our colonies. You know what I'm saying? These used to be our slaves. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna have to be some bloodshed. You know what I'm saying? It ain't no way around it. Africans gonna have to say, hey, we finna do what Haiti did. Hey, they might get us, but we gonna die. We gonna die. We gonna kill, fighting for our freedom. That's what they got to do. It ain't no way to negotiate your freedom, to talk somebody and respecting you. You know what I'm saying? You hit a bully in the mouth and you break his nose. You know what I'm saying? That's the only way you're gonna do it. And that's where we at right now. We got to do it with Chiani and what Trayor and what Goyta doing. You know what I'm saying? And what the sister in Namibia doing. And we say enough is enough. No, we handling our own business, and we gonna be free. And with all of us as Black people everywhere, in particular Africa, our motherland, when we get to where, hey, this is what it's gonna be. You know what I'm saying? We gonna get there. We gonna get there eventually. It might not be tomorrow, but we gonna get there. But we gotta know, like Malcolm said, the price of freedom is death. You know what I'm saying? Somebody death anyway. It's gonna be my death dying for it. It's gonna be your death, me killing you to get you away from me. I'll leave it right there.
True indeed, Anthony. Appreciate it. I really liked what you said about will the continent ever be sovereign? And your response to that was the AES, the Sahel Brothers. I call them leaders of the new school because that's what they're doing. Lead the charge. Black Steel, before we go to you, let's just get people familiar. Once again, if you are just tuning in, I'm your host for today's episode of Shoot the Breeze, episode 197, Jacadero filling in. An honor to fill in for Koku. Let's greet some of the viewers. Black Business Network says peace and Black African power. What's going on, BBN? War Drum says, what's up, Bakari? I believe we got Cheryl. Stand by. Cheryl says, greetings, Cheryl. All right. And Black Steel, what you say on who is funding the African Union, and will Africa as a continent ever be sovereign?
Well, like Anthony was saying, the African Union is definitely funded and paid for by, like I said, the European Union, United States, and whatnot. The African Union is a neo-colonial institution, right? It just does not serve for the institution for the liberation of African people, for sovereignty, for self-governance, right? Because if it did, there would be no space for Africom. What sovereign nation has another military nation's military bases on its soil, right? If the African Union was in place, it could withstand the sanctions that are being placed on several African nations. Hell, just the other day, Donald Trump just passed a list of nations that they were restricting travel to, and then there's 10 countries on the list. 7 of them are in Africa. What's the African Union saying about that? Nothing. So yeah, the African Union is not an effective force for African people. It is really, like I said, it's neocolonialism. It's meant to recolonize Africa. Now that the Europeans have left physically the continent, you have the idea of independence. Now they can have in place, well, we can still extract the resources from you, even though we're not there. So even though the African nations are nominally independent, they don't have control of the resources. If they try to, speak up for their people, how many of these African leaders have been murdered? That's why there's a freaking wall around Traore at this point, because the fear that he's going to end up another Sankara. So this is the reality, is that many of these people, these institutions, only serve to continue Africa's subjugation, and that way it can continue the easy extraction of resources and global capitalism, which is really the need for these. Why all of this stuff is being done to Africa, because they need the resources and to enable the cheap production of goods to fuel capitalism. So that's really, in my opinion, who's funding you. This is why we don't really see them really doing much. Right? African Union's been around for a while now, and what have they done in the long run? Right? Have they stopped the genocide in Darfur? What have they done to improve the situation in Sudan? Where's the African Union member states defending the civilians in that country? We don't hear about it. So we hear about what the UAE and Saudi Arabia are using money to fund and murder people, but where is the African Union stance on preventing this? So yeah, they're meant to recolonize Africa. All right, those are my thoughts. I'll leave it there. Thanks.
Black Steel, I appreciate it. Now, the last part of what you said about, where's the African Union at with the Sudan situation? Very interesting, because it's almost like a proxy war. You have UAE that's backing the government, and then the paramilitary that's being backed by several groups. One of them is Kenya. William Ruto invited the leader of the paramilitary rapid support forces, Hamdan, aka Hameti, to Kenya, where he started another government. So it seems like the African Union is either split, or they want to remain as external powers in this terrible war. Let's go ahead and read some comments before we get busy. Bitter Medicine, Koku says, peace fam, how's Jacadero doing? Drop a emoji for him for engagement. I appreciate it, Koku. War Drum dropped thumbs up emojis. Some of the comments, D Webb says, I mean, you got Arab states in the north, part of the African Union. So is this really an issue? D. Webb, this is pretty interesting because I believe, if memory can serve me correct, I think one of the elections in South Africa, I cannot remember. I think it was the election that Jacob Zuma was running for re-election. And I believe one of the Arab countries, not North African, but Arab countries, was to be an election overseer. And there was problems in the African Union about whether that was appropriate, because it's hardly ever, if never, that an African country is usually an overseer of an Arab election. So interesting. Real Black Gentleman says, this is what happens when you have a United States of Africa in Nkrumah style. That's why Nyerere and regionalism is more practical. And then we look at the example of the Sahel countries. Trigger Happy says that Nkrumah's model may need to be tweaked in that it may be too hasty, but I can understand why he was hasty. Anthony Black Steel, do you guys have any further thoughts about prompt 2? Who exactly is funding the AU?
Yeah, Jagadero, yeah. I wanted to say this here. This is a perfect example right here. Okay, now when Mr. Trump did his sanction thing against Africa, against African nations. Now if the AU was real, it had any teeth, what would in your opinion, what they should have done? Hey, well, we're gonna put a sanction against America. We all coming here, but they didn't do that. But check this out though. But one country did. One country did. The sister down in Namibia, she put a sanction against American visitors coming there. You know what I'm saying? She did that. It was something about the passport. But anyway, she did the same thing as an answer to what Trump was doing. The sister in Namibia. You know what I'm saying? Put sanctions against American tourists and visitors to Namibia. Now if the AU was about something, this should have been a thing. Hey, look here, if you're gonna do this to us, we're gonna do this to you. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, when you in bed with people and and when they paying salaries and when they giving money, whatever, and they control the purse strings on an organization, the puppets follow suit. The puppets do what they told to do. You know what I'm saying? I just wanted to mention that, throw that up.
Yeah, absolutely. Namibia wasn't the only one that retaliated from the travel ban, Anthony. Chad was also a country that banned visa holders from the U.S. as well. So that was.
Hey, you're right. You're right. I just remembered it. You still right. You're right.
Yeah. So I didn't know that Namibia also took measures, but I saw that Chad did. Black Steel, what are your thoughts?
I was not aware of Chad. I heard about Namibia, but that's good though. But that's good because who is the United States to tell anybody what to do? So because you have the ability to kill more people than anybody else? No. I think that's a good thing. Those are just my thoughts. I'm good.
Awesome. For those that want to be part of tonight's panel, please feel free to click the link in the StreamYard link in the comment section, usually at the top of the chat. And please, we'd like to hear your guys' opinions. Feel free. All right. So moving forward, let's go on to Shoot the Breeze topic number 3. And it is she a chef? She a chef? Let's go ahead, and we have a video to go with that. Let's take a look.
Think about it like this. A man with only one wife, okay, that's good, he's faithful. But a man with 3 women, that's 3 times more faithfulness than the beta with only one wife. The show goes on! Think about it like this. A man with only one wife, okay, that's good, he's faithful. But a man with 3 women, That's 3 times more faithfulness than the beta with only one wife.
The show goes on! This is the time again that, if you want to join the panel for discussion on any of the prompts, particularly relating to prompt number 3, is she a chef? Please go ahead and click the link, especially if you're a woman. I want my sisters to be in here. This is the topic for both genders, not just a male-dominated gender. Not that we have any male-dominated genders, but this one specifically, we'd like to get opposing sides. All right, we'll start off with Black Steel. Black Steel, is she a chef? Any comments?
Well, I wouldn't want to eat what she's cooking. This is always a funny topic to me. Some people really make a big deal about this polygamy thing, right? That's never been my thing. One woman is hard enough to deal with. I'm just gonna be real with you. I've never understood having multiple women. So one woman is enough of a headache for me to deal with than having multiple women. And think about it. From a traditional standpoint, you got to provide for all these women equally. I don't know about where you guys live at, but the cost of living is insane. I mean, you got to have a wife where every wife got to have their own house. You can't have favorites. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. That's never been my thing. If people want to do it, that's them. I support that, right? I support consenting adults doing what they really want to do. That's always been my thing. 2 consenting adults do what they want to do in their life. I got no say so in that. But for me, nah, I can't do that. No, it's too much stress, too many responsibilities. And Lord have mercy, if all they cycles start syncing up together, can you imagine all 3 women on their cycle at the same time? Oh my God. Oh, you want to kill yourself. So no, I don't think that's something that is something that should be I don't know. I think that's an individual choice. I do. I don't think it's a solution to really anything, honestly. I think it's an individual choice. I think if people want to do that, then hey, go ahead. You do that, and that's fine. So, but yeah, I don't think it's any type of silver bullet for really anything. People can have multiple women, and the thing is, people already do have multiple women, multiple men. You got these people having multiple baby daddies, multiple baby mamas. They're already living the polygamous lifestyle. Look how that works. How's that working right now? It's not working very well for a lot of people. So it's a but then at the same time, if you have a polygamous situation, right, and everybody's contributing to the household, all the women, everybody's working, everybody's putting the money into the same pot, that could work for some people. It could, but I don't know. I think it's an individual choice. I don't think it's going to change the world, right? You should brush your teeth before you go to bed at night. That's a good thing to brush your teeth. Is it going to change the world? No, it's not. It's not. But if it works for you, hey, go ahead. It's a good idea. It works for you, but not for me. That's not my thing. I'll leave it there. Thanks.
Black Steel, I appreciate it. You kind of reminded me that yeah, it can lead to multiple headaches, and it might not be as simple as one seems. Before we get to Anthony, let's read some of these comments because you guys enjoyed this prompt, huh? War Drum has laughing emoji, bitter medicine, Koku, LOL. Trigger Happy says that, like I said before, polygamy has to be organized culturally. It can't be because of people's fantasies. It's because of duty. True indeed. Again, if you want to be part of the panel, especially if you're a woman on this particular prompt, please go ahead and click and join us. Is she a chef? Anthony, is she a chef? Was she cooking?
Yeah, she's a chef, man, and she cooking. She cooking. Hey, but look at Jackadero. The thing about it, though, see, I'm like Black Steel. It's hard enough trying to please one sister. You know what I'm saying? It's hard enough. And then I'm scared of my sister anyway, my woman anyway. She might whoop my ass. So I ain't gonna go there. But I think that I think in some way it's a cultural thing. I mean, I don't knock it. If brothers can if you can do that and get away with it, I mean, do that and be successful with it, that's cool. That's cool. But me, I mean, like one woman is a handful for me. You know what I'm saying? I can't imagine having two. You know what I'm saying? And because me, I'm a guy who loves black women. You know, and my black women who I deal with tend to be kind of a little bit crazy, too crazy to me. And so, I don't think I can handle that. No, I'm not gonna even try to handle it, especially at my age now. But I'm saying, I think what I wanted to say was, I think, okay, again, Black Steel was right. We be doing it anyway, but it's the difference between having two girlfriends and two wives. You know what I'm saying? That you got to pay for two houses. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to treat them all equally. And this and that. And I think that I think some brothers, they might look at it and say, "Oh yeah, man, wow." But I say, no, man, when you sit down and think about this, this might not be for you. This might not be what you need to try to do, man. You might can't handle this. But and then I think again, it's circumstances like on the continent. I don't think on the continent. I believe that, and Jacadero, you could tell me if I'm right, that this wasn't just. I mean, polygamy was not just because a brother wanted to have three wives. Oh man, I just want to get me 3 women. I think it was other things like in traditional Africa. It was other things that fitted into that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it wasn't just like a lustful thing. You know, I mean, it was a benefit. It was a beneficial thing. It was other stuff that played a part in that. It was just a superficial thing that we see with our eyeballs. Oh man, he got 3 wives. No, it was deeper than that. It was more than that, or more to it than that. But ironically, man, like here on this side of the world, a lot of the conversation that I see about polygamy, a lot of it is coming from sisters. I mean, and a lot of it from sisters who agree with it. I mean, you got to detract those who don't. But matter of fact, it was just this week I was listening to this sister, man. She has a Facebook site and an IG site. She's from out of Houston, Texas, man, and she's with the National Black United Front. The sister named Goddess Ayana. And she's pro-polygyny. And she had her platform, she talks about it a lot. And I know several other sisters, man, and if we can go back into the 80s, the 90s and 80s, our great sister and elder Queen Mother Shahrazad Ali always talked about that. And so it's a conversation that, like you said, I think the sisters need to have a voice in it, and to see what they think about it. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, there are sisters who are pro and who talk about the benefits of it. But yeah, I think it's a great thing if it's great for you. No, it ain't gonna be great for me right now. You know what I'm saying? I don't think I can handle it. No, I don't think I'd try that. But yeah, man, it's a great. I think she was definitely cooking though, man.
True indeed. Man, a lot to take away from your comments. Now, before we even get into that, let's read some of these comments as well that are in the chat. Cheryl says, I've discussed it with my husband, but it's to build an empire. So Anthony, you weren't far off, huh? So sometimes it's the sisters that are bringing it up instead of the gentleman. Wardrum says, polygamy is why we have the biggest population on the planet, but it isn't for everyone. I'd love to see the numbers on that. I always have thought that Africa's had the biggest, but I'd love to see what Asia has as well, because we know China is up there, right? I don't know, is it 2.4, 2.3 billion people just in one country? And then you got the rest of Western Asia. And then India is a part of Asia as well. So, but yeah, I mean, we are a large population on the continent and just on the world, in the world itself. Trigger Happy says that love is a slogan for the hyper individualist. Marriage should be taught as a function of making the community stronger, not by simply fulfilling individual fantasies. Fantasies. Well, yeah. Stronger by making the community stronger. Speaking of community, let's go ahead and Once again, for those that don't know, I'm filling in. My name is Jacadero, and I'm filling in for Koku today on episode 197 of Shoot the Breeze on the Bitter Medicine Podcast. But let's go ahead and introduce our third panelist today, Koku.
It's me, Koku. It's kind of strange coming in as a panelist, man. First of all, thanks to Jacadero. I'll talk more about that in a second. But I also want to say thanks to Black Steel and Anthony for showing up tonight as well. Let me also say thanks to quite a few people out in the chat checking out the show tonight. And once again, just to echo what Jacadero had said, if we could get some of you Black women up here, our sisters up here, let's talk about this a little bit. I'm not quite back yet, Trigger Happy, so this is why I'm not here to step on Jacadero's toes. You do your thing tonight, but I just wanted to pop in real quick to discuss this, and I might pop in for another prompt or two. But I respect what Black Steel and Anthony said about it, and I respect it in the sense of the world that we actually live in a sense of the geography of where we are. But I want to put forth the idea that some of you in the chat put forth as well. Maybe we should think about it a little bit differently. And also, we don't have to follow the rules, because a lot of the polygamous rules come from religion, particularly like Islam. We don't have to necessarily follow it quite to the T that most of us think about it in, right? I would say that, and I think it's D Webb in the chat who said it best, I would say polygamy is really a good thing when you're a certain age and up. I would say, let me see if I can find the comment. So Webb says it could be beneficial for widows and single women 40 plus who can or don't want to have more children. Join another couple. It's more of a realistic option for that demographic, to be honest. And I think that's really where it is a bit more important. Although I wouldn't want to exclude women who have children who might be single mothers. And I know we could debate about maybe they made bad decisions, etc. But again, thinking how we once thought about community and about I am because you are, and those types of thoughts, I would say it's not a bad idea to consider it and to have it as a tool in our community, because what's happening now is we have a lot of, and I'm just going to be frank about it, we have a lot of, especially young boys, who are not coming up under any type of rules of a man, and they could have benefited from being under the rule, even if it's 3 sets of boys or 3 sets of children or 4 sets, whatever you can handle. I think they would have prospered if they were under the rules of a man who had a consciousness about it, who understood the importance of community, the importance of manhood towards boy children, girl children, the importance of a man's love even to a woman who has seen bad times or what have you. So I think I know our visceral reaction is usually to be like, Black Steel said, I can't deal with how to deal with one woman, much less dealing with 2 or 3 women, and what if their cycles stink up and all that. And I get that, but I also think that that's where there needs to be like a re-education, if you will, a change of mindset where we could execute these types of things and it would be beneficial for everyone. I don't think it has to be that, is it the Mormons who do it? Yes, the Mormons. 'Cause I remember there was a TV show called Big Love some years ago that kind of touched on this, and it was a lot of this guy had to have a separate house on the block for each of the women he was with, and he had to walk through the backyard and through the back door to spend his night with them and all. I don't think we necessarily have to do it that way. And I think a lot of that thinking comes from that rugged individualism that Trigger Happy also mentioned too. There's so much rugged individualism in America or in the Americas that it has become very difficult for us to really work together, especially with all the gender wars that go on. That also comes from that rugged individualism. I just think we need to really sit down and think about ourselves going forward, and we need to not shun this, but I think we need to kind of embrace it, but under what terms? And that it should be our terms as opposed to some religious terms or what have you. And I'll land my plane there. Thanks for having me. By the way, guys, make sure to drop some emojis in the chat. Drop some encouragement for Jacadero, because Jacadero actually came to me and asked how could he help during this time, and it's so appreciated. There's some days, like last Saturday, I was at home, but I just didn't have the urge to really come on and have these discussions, and he reached out to me, and that's a first. And so I'll always be appreciative of him reaching out to me to host a show when I'm not available. And if you look at the scroller going past the bottom of the screen, that's the organization he is connected to. He talks about it every week when he comes on, and he gives us shout outs. Make sure you guys support, even if it's just to go and like the page on Facebook, etc. So I really do appreciate you, Jacadero. Again, I'll land my plane, and I hope that you have a good remainder of the show.
Appreciate it, Koku. Man, with you being a panelist and not a host, you come off pretty political. That was a pretty political answer. You usually, less bipartisan. You're more partisan, but whatever. We'll let it go. Let's read some of these comments here before we bring another panel member. Cheryl says that it's a Disney mindset that most Westerners grew up with, and that's why they can't conceive even the idea of polygamy. I'd be pressed to find a Disney Channel movie that would show polygamy. So yeah, you're on top of that.
I don't think that was in Mulan. I don't know. Maybe I missed that. I don't know that was in Pocahontas and that.
Trigger Happy says, in Western societies full of rugged individualism, polygamy can't work. Yeah, Western society does promote, capitalism. So it's pretty tough to have a mindset like polygamy. But I will say this, the Amish in Western society, I don't know if you guys are familiar, but there are a group of white folks called the Amish in the United States. And I think Heterites is another group, and pretty much they live the same. As a home inspector, I got to visit an Amish community, and they pretty much live like the way that they lived in Europe. And it's not uncommon for a man to have 3 or 4 wives, but they're so off the grid that rugged individualism doesn't exist because everybody needs to put in work. Oftentimes in movies and TV shows of Western media, the Amish are portrayed as people that can build a house within a day, build a barn within 3 days. And it's because it's all hands in. I usually try to stay away from relating, Europeans and Africans, but I'd say that if there was going to be a model for polygamy in the West, it more likely would be the Amish or the Heterite community. Moving on, let's go ahead and introduce our next panelists coming to the stage. Real black gentlemen, Peace and blessings. What's going on? How are you? And welcome to the show.
Hey, peace and blessings, Jacaro. How you doing?
I'm in a good mood, man. I'm blessed.
I mean, let me just get to the meat of it. I mean, polygamy. Have you read the book Things Fall Apart?
By Chinyu, I can never pronounce his name.
Yeah, Chinyewu. Oh geez, I know what you were. Yeah. And the point is the protagonist, you know what I'm saying, he's a polygamous man. I think he has 3 wives, right? I mean, how would I say it? You can imagine a culture where that exists, but it would be uncommon. In probably in some senses, he was like a strong person. I think he was a wrestler. He was strong and famed in his community. You know what I'm saying? He was like a celebrity in his community. So that kind of lends to the idea that he had stature and fortitude, was able and resourceful enough to, you know what I'm saying, maintain more than one wife. You know what I'm saying? That's not something that is, like I said, is uncommon. What in as far as it happening, you don't want to promote it in a way that isn't, how would I say, stable. You would have to have, you know, relative to circumstance, you got to be able to, you know, feed multiple children, and you have to, you know, make sure that you know what I'm saying, especially in this culture, that one of the wives won't then divorce, because then you would have a situation that, I mean, what if one of the women decided to divorce from the husband and the other woman didn't want to? Or even worse, what if all of the women decided to divorce the man at once? And then what were they going to do? Split it 2, 3, 4 ways? So it's like there's things in this society where, you know, if you do that, there could be complications. And for me personally, if I did have such resources, I wouldn't necessarily want to do so in a way that I knew wasn't ironclad. Because I mean, especially when there's kids involved, like, another thing is that I wouldn't want to necessarily take on another man's kids. You know, even to the notion of trying to like make sure that the child has a good role model. That would not be my prerogative. Like, I'm as a man, it doesn't seem palatable to have multiple wives just to carry multiple children that aren't mine. I mean, I would want to make absolutely ironclad sure that every child was mine. Like, there would be no excuses not for that to be otherwise. Because I mean, those are serious. That's 20 years of dedication multiplied by how many wives and how many children. So like, I mean, I wouldn't want to jeopardize my legacy, you know, especially with dealing with multiple women, having third-party men involved. You know what I'm saying? That's not my play. That's not what I would do. So I would say it's uncommon. I think that if you can do it, like I say, more power to you. As the women, make sure that, you know what I'm saying, you work with the other wives and not, you know, try to, you know what I'm saying, show out or be extra, or, you know what I'm saying, just keep it measured and balanced. You know what I'm saying? Make those steady adjustments back and forth. Because if I have more than one wife, I cannot have it. I'm not having the cattiness. I'm not having the betrayals. I'm not having it. That goes in from the jump. I'm passing mic.
Whoo. Yeah. I was trying to take notes, real black gentleman, when you were talking. You dropped a lot of game. Before we get into that, let's read some of the chats as well. Cheryl says you need to introduce the concept of nation building. If they don't want to do that, you got your answer. Welcome to the show, Raw Vegetari. And you might be from the Caribbean. I'm not, and I'm not gonna attempt to have Buana or Koku's Caribbean patois accent. So, fellas, and anybody else in the chat,
I'll just jump in there. She says, when the white folks saw that you had many wives and the children that came from it, they assumed that you were raising an army. So they made it against the law to have more than one wife, but you just married one. Yeah, that's basically what Sister Raw is saying.
And then Sister Raw is also saying that men women and many outside children, and it okay with them laws. Gotcha. Something that Trigger Happy said in the chat. He also said that, let's see if we got it. Well, Trigger Happy had pointed out that, there's cultures in Africa, I'm sure you guys are aware, where they practice polygamy. The story goes of the Kikuyu. I'm not a Kikuyu, by the way. So Trigger Happy, if you're Kikuyu, please correct me. But what I understand from the Kikuyu is that the Mungai, and I forget the first wife's name, but they had either 9 children or 9 wives, but polygamy was in there, and it was to create the Kikuyu, the Agikuyu nation that we see today. So very, very interesting. And then I want to ask the panel, remaining thoughts. Did she cook? Like, is this something that you guys see feasible, not only in the West, but maybe in the Caribbean and in modern day Africa? The modern cities of Africa. It's usually the capital cities where modernity has stepped in, because that's where the jobs are at. And that's where people are saying that if that's where my job is, in the capital city, which is usually the biggest city in African and Caribbean countries, do I have the same issues that would be in rural Africa or rural Caribbean? Gentlemen?
I think your question was, did she cook? I thought she cooked. You might not want to eat that food if you have, the notions, the Western notions and stuff like that. You might not want to have that food. But if we really sat down and thought about it, right? It was mentioned. I think Jack mentioned the Amish, who would tend to deal in this type of thing from time to time. And he mentioned something interesting, how the Amish is building their own houses, making their own food, and feeding their people. I think one of the worries we have is under the current setting, where we gotta hit that 9 to 5, the majority of us, to get that little bit of pay, and then have to turn around and feed all these mouths that we imagine in this scenario. I think that becomes distasteful, what she's cooking. But I think if we thought about it, like Cheryl said, I really wish Cheryl would have come up. But if we had paid attention to what Cheryl was saying, Cheryl was talking about, nation building, which is what the Amish pretty much do in their own way. Although it's based around religion, if I'm not mistaken. But if you think about nation building, this option is not a bad one, and particularly because I'll just level with y'all real quick. I'm soon to be 50 myself, and I observe so many Black women who are between, even as young as 45, 50, 55, like Cheryl mentioned, who are just lonely and just out of, and you could see it. And these are the women who tend to run to the church house, the religions and stuff like that at these young ages, and they're not like trying to attract men anymore. They're just moving through life, doing whatever, getting whatever they have to get done. And I feel ways about that, because life is short, but also life can be a bit lengthy in its own sense too. And to see a woman just get fed up, just become jaded, and just throw themselves at the pastor's feet or the gay choir director's feet on a Sunday, and then Bible study on Wednesday, and then this other shit and that. That's very sad to me. Whereas, something, Sister Irma, you might have could have joined in with Anthony and his lady and just kept the peace. By the way, it's the last thing I'll say. I used to date a Kenyan woman, and she told me she told me something. She said the idea that we have that as a man you're going to be just trying to please these women. That's from what she told me, and Jack might know better than me. She told me that's not really the case. She said your job is really just to keep the peace. Just to keep the peace. The women will sort out and organize themselves. Your job as the man is just to keep the peace. And so I think that's something that we should think about, even though you might not like the kind of food this woman is cooking. I'll land my plane there.
You know, Koku. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Jack. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
Okay. Okay, I was gonna say the same thing. I agree with Koku. All right. What I'm saying is this. Okay, what Cheryl said, what she said about the nation building board, I agree with it 100%. I agree with that. I'm saying me personally, I know I'm not in a position to do it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, in a perfect scenario, yes. I mean, I think it's great for me personally, but I think it's great for us as a people. You know what I'm saying? The polygyny board. I think it could be great. You know, if your mind right, if everybody on the same accord, you know, if we got our minds right. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I'm not in no way dissing it. But I'm just saying, me personally, at my age, you know, I'm 58. And, you know, and I done seen more yesterdays than probably just tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? And so it probably won't work for me personally right now at this point in my life. But I'm saying, like, if I was a younger man, yeah. I mean, I agree with the principles and everything. What I want to say was this right here. Also, when we talking about polygyny, man, I want to invite this sister on, man. I'm gonna try to contact her, man, because you know she's real deep in it, man. You know, and real deep in it. What I'm saying, I remember like reading about the Haitian Revolution. Now, you know, after the revolution, after the War of Independence, and those Africans had liberated themselves, the government in Haiti pushed polygyny because so many men had been killed, you know, during the battle. So many people had died. And so they pushed it. So, you know, and it was the thing where like Haitian men would have 2 or 3 wives, you know, to build the population back up. And that's why I was asking, I was saying to Jacadero, could you enlighten us a little bit about how polygyny worked in Kenya, like in traditional Kenya? Because I know, and sometimes, like I said, it wasn't just about a man just seeing a pretty girl, I want to marry her. I know it was other things that came into play with that. You know, like family ties and like, you know, and like even wealth, like in land or in cattle. It's different. You know what I'm saying, Jacadero? In the traditional societies, I mean, it wasn't just that one, like a lust thing. It was other factors that played a part of polygyny. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it was increasing the numbers of the ethnic group. I know that may have been one thing. And I mean, other things. You know, I'm just wondering if you could kind of enlighten us on how polygyny went in Kenya among the local, the indigenous people in Kenya, how it went with them a little bit. I'll land right there.
Anthony, that is interesting that you ask about that. Because I have a book that I'm actually going to be reading from here just a little bit. I know that, you know, everybody else, we're going to allow the panelists to get off their last thoughts about topic number 3, did she cook? But before I want to, you know, say to Koku, that Kenyan girlfriend that you used to have, if she was a Luo woman, us Luo in Kenya, we practice dowry and a livestock dowry. So I'm not 100% sure on why you didn't contact me for livestock. I need some cows. So that's very, very disrespectful for you. Shame on you. I'm not 100% sure on where your mind was at.
She was Luo, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I'll pay you on the flip side.
My Cash App is Jacadero. So go ahead and
yes,
yeah, thank you. Yeah. This summer I want to barbecue some good beef. But Anthony, back to you. I'm reading from The Descendants of Ramogi. This is by Sibor Omeno Sibor. Sibor in the Luo, the language of the Luo means lion. So maybe his dad or his grandfather was a lion hunter. or they probably their clan totem is probably a lion. But nonetheless, this is what it says in chapter 6. Again, the descendants of Ramogi. For those that don't know, us Luo in Kenya, we originally started in South Sudan, just like any other Luo group in East Africa, Uganda, Tanzania, Congo. And us Luo in Kenya, our ancestry can be traced to the one specific Luo that came from the Nile, followed the Nile River, and his name was Ramogi. So chapter 6 reads, the Luo men were remarkably polygamous in both ideology and practice, post-marital residence and patriarchal in the strictest sense of the term. That is, the wife goes to live with the husband in the homestead of the husband's father. Marriage involves a protracted series of exchanges and ceremonies between the families of the bride and the groom, and most crucially, the payment of the substantial bride wealth to the bride's family. Formerly, this involved cattle, and in the pre-colonial era, iron hose. Now it involves cattle and cash. Koku, Jacadero, $ Jacadero, thank you.
I got it. Yes, sir.
Once bride price has been paid, the children produced by the marriage are considered to belong to the husband's lineage. Divorce necessitates a return of the bride price. Marriage is not simply an individual affair. It establishes an enduring relationship of mutual obligations between the families that can be invoked for aid in times of hunger or other need. Hopefully that answers your question, Anthony.
Yeah, man, they give some insight.
Black Steel, Real Gentlemen, you guys want to have some last?
I want to say this. A lot of times, right? And I want to I'm thinking about this through our modern culture, right? And the way modern dating and mating works, right? It's very materialistic, right? So they've done a couple studies, especially in dating sites, right, that show that the most women don't find most men attractive, right? So I think that what would happen is that some men would have many women and most men would have none, right? So it's almost like in you see these nature specials, right? When you have these animals like the buffalo, these wildebeests, or these deer, right? Or these hippopotamuses, for example. A male hippo, he has like 10, 30 female hippos, and this one poor, lonely male hippo has nobody. He's getting the shit kicked out of him on a regular basis. He's trying to fight, or like lion, like a pride of lions, right? You have this one lion pride that has multiple lionesses, and then this lion is constantly having to fend off threats to his rule. Especially in our Western culture, many women desire a lifestyle, right? And there's often been talk about, refusing to settle, right? I'm not gonna settle. I want what I want. Many women would rather be alone than to settle on any or compromise on any of their stated desires. So I think that this polygamy situation and our current situation would basically lead to a lion pride. You got one or two guys with multiple women, and then a lot of guys with nobody, right? I think that this is just being codified into law. It could lead to a really bad situation where, because again, some women don't mind sharing men. All right, you ever see these dudes on TV with 30, 40, 50 kids with 10 women? These women don't, and this guy, who's the one white dude? This one white dude had like 600 women in the hood. Black women just racking up bodies. They didn't mind sharing this dude because in their mind, this man was a man of high status, right? The term is hypergamy. If I could put take my red pill for a second, right? A lot of women are hypergamous. They go after the male that they feel has the highest status. So, in that situation, I could definitely see a lot of men being, having nothing, and a lot of women just settling in because these men can't afford to have the lifestyle that they want. You know, again, they don't mind sharing it if it benefits them. But just taking a regular dude and building an empire in this materialist culture, no, you can't buy me a Birkin, I don't want you. You know, I think that's something that we're gonna have to address too.
Hey, Black, hey, Jacadero, I want to holler at Black Steel real quick. Can I?
Please, go ahead.
Okay, okay, Steel, check this out, Steel. Check this out. Okay, what you saying? Okay, on the surface of it, yeah, okay, I see that. I mean, it trust me, Black Steel, you always make a lot of sense with stuff, you know. I mean, I disagree with some of it, but you always make sense. Okay, what I'm saying is this though. Okay, I think that now you know how if you've been around, if you're a brother and you from the hood, and when I say hood, I mean just the black community, and you know sisters. Now a lot of sisters talk a lot of shit. I mean, I'm not coming down on, but I'm saying sisters will talk all day about if you ain't got this and all of this stuff, and what you, I mean, because we see that on social media, these people on social media, but I say that we can't just necessarily go by that because these are sometimes people who just want to get clout chasing. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that there aren't those kind of people, but I'm saying a lot of times, you know, sisters talk shit just like brothers. We talk shit too, man. You know, we talk about, on the one hand, we could talk about how some females like, oh man, these females trash. But goddamn, you living in the dumpster. You know what I'm saying? Because we be going after these trashy women. You know what I'm saying? We be going after the women that we call trashy women. So what I'm saying is, a lot of times people talk shit. You know, and people like people will talk about, I want a man that got this and that and that and that and that. And you even hear brothers saying, you know, she got, what does she bring to the table? But a lot of time I think that's just bullshit. Sometimes we gotta look at, we gotta put it down, we gotta bring it down to this right here. And we all know that as men, we brothers, as men, we know this here. You got alpha males and you got beta males. You know what I'm saying? You talk about the buffalo or the lion with a pride full of women. You know what I'm saying? That was the lion or the buffalo who, you know, who stood up and made his mark. A lot of times, you know, us as young brothers growing up in the hood, we in high school, whatever. You know what? There was some guys who was like, hey man, you know, I'm that dude. You know what I'm saying? And the girls liked him. Now look here, I mean, from the hood, we weren't rich. We didn't have money like that. You know what I'm saying? But he was a dude. You know what I'm saying? He was an alpha male. He was the one that was scared to go out and say this here and say that. You know, to run his game, run it, whatever he was running on the women. You know, and the girls ate it up. And then you had some of those dudes, like at one time, I was one of them. The dude who was kind of shy, you know what I'm saying, who was scared to approach girls. I mean, it took me a long time to get to that point where I could approach him. You know what I'm saying? I mean, people like, hey man, boy, you gay or something? You know what I'm saying? You scared of girls? And stuff like that. But this, I mean, this is the kind of thing that we went through growing up. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes, like, we can put it in political terms and talk about the monetary and all that. But at the end of the day, what I'm saying, that woman, that woman still choose you because you got money, you got this lifestyle. But guess what? If you ain't putting it down, if you ain't handling business and taking her needs as a woman, and not just only sex, but I'm saying if you know, making her feel right, whatever, you know what I'm saying? She gonna still cheat on you, or she gonna leave you. You know what I'm saying? I think that it ain't necessarily that, you know, we're gonna put it in terms of like in the political terms or economic terms. Like I say, sometimes we talk a lot of shit. We say this here, you know how black people is, man. We brag and boast about everything. Girl, yeah, I made that nigga pay this here. You know, yeah, I made the, you know, stuff like that. But when it comes down to it, it's really about, okay, alpha males, beta males, you know, alpha women, beta women, I mean, you know, relationships with men and women. And I think it really comes down to us. I mean, I know I'm going around the world with it and everything, but I just think that sometimes it comes down to basic stuff, really, man. Basic things of the relationship between men and women, man, and not necessarily like, you know, yeah, we in this capitalist society, and you have to factor in stuff like that. But I think basically it comes down to really the basic ass stuff, though, man. You know, if you can understand where I'm coming from, Black Steel. I mean, I love to hear your response to it.
No, I hear what you said. You know, people talking trash, but I think these are also, you know, a lot of times, like you said, talking about people trash that live in a dumpster. I think that I think sometimes our expectations are so out of this world. Like, I heard one chick say, I don't date men that don't own their own home. But so like you have an apartment, you can't even have an apartment. You got to actually have a whole mortgage. Why? Why? Why does she have expectations? Because somebody told her that having a mortgage was better than having an apartment. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So you know, it's a situation where I agree with you. I think people just tend to run their mouths quite a bit.
Hey, it's still one last thing. You know that white boy who had all the women? He was also spreading HIV among them too.
Yeah, that I remember.
Oof, man. Let's read some of these comments as well. Marcus Garvey Liberation says, good night. Appreciate you stopping on by. And if we can get you on the panel next time, please feel free to come on. And anybody that is viewing as well, click the link. Come on, join the panel. I want to hear directly from you. Daily Affirmation says, I know a Jamaican man who had many children by multiple women. That sounds like all Jamaican men, to be honest. Jamaicans in Nigeria. I'm just saying, Jamaicans in Nigeria, that just sounds like them. And all the women and children get along. He married one and procreated with many. Cheryl says, also Black people tend to watch the most TV and consume more social media than all groups of people. This definitely influences how we act towards one another. True indeed, absolutely. Media plays a big part into how we view things, and I think that with the relationship and marriage conversation, polygamy is not introduced. It's not even talked about. But somebody on the panel said it earlier that there's a lot of women that are okay with sharing a particular guy. A young Black brother right now that's making Gen Z and millennial news. Young millennial news is Duke Dennis. Don't know if you guys are familiar with him, but he's a popular streamer. And it's recently been surfaced that he possibly has children with multiple women. Multiple women have went on live on different social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and showing, not only showcasing their children, but also stating that, they either have a good relationship with potentially Duke Dennis. They don't come out and say it, but they're implying it. And I'd be very pressed to find that those women would mind being sister wives. I know that sister wife term is an aggressive term to hear, but again, for our female listeners, female viewers, please click the link, get on the panel. We want to hear directly from you. But individual like that, even the former football player Cam Newton is rumored to have, I think, upwards of like 5 children, maybe 7. And his most recent, the most recent mother of the child was stating, because she's a stand-up comedian, I believe, and she was stating on one of her stand-up specials that before she got into a relationship with Cam, one of her friends were trying to convince her not to do it. And then she was like, do you guys know this guy's net worth? Why wouldn't I have a child, let alone get in a relationship with this man? So I think it just comes down to like how much you're loved. I'm just going to be honest. How much are you loved? And then how much are those women willing to work together, especially if they get their own home? If they get their own home in their own car, I think more women would be, again, I'm not a woman, but we'd like to hear from women. Please click the link. I think if that was the case where women got their own car and got their own house, I don't know if they would have such an issue with that. And then it's like this, it's like, then you continue that mystery. Let me speak to the fellas. As men, we're either taught or we have to find out through experience that the less that you're around your woman, the more that you can create and keep that mystery about you. Because when you're home all the time, right, like Stedman, right, Oprah Stedman, you're looked at as an afterthought, and then she gets sick of you. But I might be just in my own thoughts. Fellas, please chime in before we go to our next problem. Any last comments?
Yeah, I would agree with that. you don't want to necessarily just like be a homebody. Even the king has to go out and, you know what I'm saying, and survey the land. You know what I'm saying? It's like you can't just be on the throne all the time. You know, people who like go out and like are on like oil like rigs and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying, going out, you know what I'm saying? It's something to be that. But the problem becomes is it's an inherent test of fidelity. Even if you're like relatively close by, not having this degree of proximity to your wife, I mean, can lead to a degree of infidelity. And it's just a matter of the faithfulness that, you know, your partner is faithful. Back before DNA, you know what I'm saying, you come back, you left her, you know what I'm saying, you knocked up with her before you left, you come back, you know what I'm saying, 9 months later, little baby a little lighter than you, and you kind of wondering why, you know what I'm saying, them eyes ain't the same color, that nose ain't the same. And so like there's always trade-offs. And as a woman, I can't speak to the culture that would promote fidelity, especially like in long-term bonded commitments such as that. You know what I'm saying? How, you know what I'm saying, just not being around the house all the time. I think it's good for the children to a degree. You know, you want to be around the children. You want to have time when you're close with your children, but sometimes, frankly, it's just now it would just be, I would say, optimal for the man to go out, obtain, and if it means overnight or whatnot. He hasn't come back tonight. He's out there on the hunt, so he has to be out on the hunt, and then he comes back with the bounty for the kid, and the kid and the father can enjoy the bounty together. That's kind of optimal, I think. I mean, you don't want a too stable. I mean, I think it's just good for the sense of, like you say, mystery for the kid and adventure in the sense of learning the unknown and how to adapt to different situations to a degree. Yeah. Again, I mean, I would only hope whatever's best for the family, that the family in those kind of situations, that the family is stable and is whole. That's all to say.
I appreciate that.
Jackadero, I like to say this here. This is all, to me, this goes to like, when you meet a person, like you a man, you meet a woman, or you a woman, you meet a man, you know what I'm saying? It goes to the importance of getting to know somebody. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you meet a girl, a female who, when you met her, but when you met her, like what she was doing before you met her, no, she was like doing whatever she wanted to do. You know, had friends here and there. You know how this is, I got friends. You know what I'm saying? Or if it's a guy who had a lot of girlfriends, you know what I'm saying? Who he went into the one-on-one relationship. You know, either one of them was into the one-on-one relationship. Okay, y'all get together, and at first it's gonna be all right, but then after a while, you know, with familiarity, you start doing the stuff. You slide back into the stuff you used to do. The things that you really do, that you really want to do. So I'm just saying, you gotta, when you meet somebody, you gotta know what their intentions are. You gotta know what their goals are. You gotta know what kind of person they are, man. You know, you gotta do all of the investigation. You know, dating is, today it's the dating now. Today it's just you look good, you look good. You know, let's get together. You know what I'm saying? You know, and for superficial kind of stuff. What I'm saying, it ain't how, back in the days when I was a young guy, and especially before me, well, you had to get to know the woman, the young lady. You know what I'm saying? You had to know a little bit something about her family. You know what I'm saying? You got to know them a little bit, and you say, okay, this is a person who I could build something with. But then, but today it's different, man. It's like, I mean, you still have it, but today it's like, people are trading about how they look, about how they act. You know what I'm saying? I think that's, again, I go to that social media thing is so strong, particularly in our community, we as African people, as Black people. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times we take our cues from that kind of stuff. Now you got sisters everybody want to be Megan Thee Stallion, or be Glorilla, or be Sexy Red. You know what I'm saying? I be seeing girls every day today, ski and all this old bullshit. You know what I'm saying? The guys doing the same old bull crap. You know what I'm saying? Because we take our cues from this stuff instead of, being our real authentic selves as we are as Black people, as African people, man. And back to our traditions. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, yeah, if you're a man and you're a woman and y'all get together and y'all and both y'all got Y'all all about moving forward. You go to work, you go out there, you go and get it. You know what I'm saying? She go and get it, she supports you. She get it, how she get it. And y'all thinking about the family. Y'all thinking about, because the family is the basis of the community. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm going back to the nation building thing. The nation building, the cornerstone of a nation is what? The community and the family. Local communities, the villages, and the family. You know what I'm saying? See, we had to take in consideration all of this kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? About when we talking about building a nation. But if we ain't talking about building a nation, then we'll go for anything. Wham bam, thank you, ma'am, and all this old foolishness. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, we have to be clear on what we want. You know what I'm saying? On the kind of person as me as a man, the kind of woman I want. Or as a woman, the kind of man you want. You know what I'm saying? And what your goals are, and if you have goals at all, period. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause some people don't have goals, but just a quick fix and then on to the next person. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I ain't gonna go along, man. I'll land my plane right there.
Appreciate it, Anthony. Anybody else? Last thoughts? Koku Black Steel, Real Black Gentleman.
I just want to not necessarily last thought on this, but because I think we're kind of understanding it that there needs to be a change in the mindsets of our folks before we could really get to this level of cooking that this lady did in that video. But I really wanted to, while I remember it, shout out Jay. The email is familiar. I can't think of who it is, but I want to shout out Jay, who gave a Cash App donation to the show this past week. Thank you very much for that. Make sure it'll be put to use in improving the show and improving the network. So thanks for that. I'll land my plane there. And Jack, you've been doing a good job, man. Keep it up. We'll talk soon.
Appreciate it, Koku. Cheryl, some of the comments from the chat. Cheryl says, Black women whom are career-driven are taught to be hard all the time because no one going to do for you but you. But if given the opportunity, women don't want to work a 9-to-5 for 30, 40 years. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me be partisan for a little bit. In the western part of the world, you're getting hit with feminism. And that whole, I can be independent, I can do everything for myself. Okay. While you get hit with that, just know that your body is going to get exhausted. And you're also, because of social media, you're seeing other women enjoying themselves because they don't have to work a 9-to-5. They said to themselves, I got a man that will take care of me. I hope to see more of that in the future. More women showcasing the quote unquote soft life. Because just like Koku was saying, it is sad when I do see older, women that's my mom's age being by themselves. I attend different African parties and you can tell who's alone. You can just see it. I don't know any of you guys, any of the brothers on the chat, if you ever go to an African function, whether it's a graduation party, birthday party, and you can see who are the lonely African women. You can just tell because a lot of times their faces just have this smug. It's a dirty smug. And they project whatever it is to usually the younger women. They're usually chastising younger women, or they're usually talking nasty about the younger women. And if you ever talk to a younger African woman and ask her, like, hey, what's your experience at the African parties? Some of them have said, hey, I stopped going to my community parties because of the nasty looks and the rumors and the gossip that is brought on by my aunties, and maybe not her blood-related aunties, and a lot of times these aunties are divorced. I want to say this again. A lot of times they're divorced or they're just lonely. And so now they're projecting everything that is sad about their life to the younger women because they know that now they can't compete. I don't want to say this as an insult. That's why if we had a chance to have any of the sisters that are watching get on the link and get on this panel, it would have been nice. But it is something that Koku brought up that had me reminisce about every time that I've been at an African party. You can just you can see it.
Hey Jack, Marcus Garvey is the way. A black woman. She's there just to be. She's waiting to be added to the panel. So
okay, all right. Let's before we move forward, let's go ahead and welcome Marcus Garvey is the way.
Hi, good night. Yeah. Yeah, I was listening. I didn't get to hear the person that was talking, but I assume that y'all were talking about polygamy and wanted a female perspective.
Yeah. If you want, I can go ahead and I can just play the prompt again.
Okay.
And then I'll play it twice. It was a video that it got quite a reaction from individuals.
Okay.
So stand by.
I'm going to try to get my sister along.
Think about it like this. A man with only one wife, okay, that's good. He's faithful. But a man with 3 women, that's 3 times more faithfulness than the beta with only one wife.
The show goes on!
Think about it like this. A man with only one wife, okay, that's good. He's faithful. But a man with 3 women, that's 3 times more faithfulness than the beta with only one wife.
The show goes on!
That's funny. That is funny.
All right, Marcus Garvey is the way. You have the floor. Go ahead, sister.
Okay, so I do believe that polygamy works because, I was married for over 20-something years, and I said, I could imagine there are times where my husband having another woman would give me a break, especially when your husband's horny and you're not, you can see where another woman could step in there and relieve his pressure where you don't need to do it because, it's your role as a wife. Especially after you've been dealing with the kids and all that other stuff all day, but I do think one of the problems with the West especially is that a lot of people are in polygamous relationships and they won't admit it. Like, some women have been married and their husband's cheating. Some women are in girlfriend boyfriend relationships, engaged, whatever, and the male is cheating. But when you find out, it's all an ego thing. Yeah, it hurts your feelings that, the man's straight. But whether you want to admit it or not, for centuries, I think our people have been living in polygamous relationships. Families where, daddy has 2 children outside with somebody else, but again, it's the ego thing. It hurts your feelings when you find out, oh yeah, he's straight. But I think men will stray, and we can't always express African relationships as only polygamy because there are relationships where women were the polygamous ones in some parts of Africa because Africa is not a individual. It's a continent. It's not a country. So you have tribes and groups within African lifestyles that live differently. So some males were polygamous, some females were polygamous, and there's situations in Africa where people had one wife, one husband. So, I mean, I had a friend one time that said that our experience here in the West is just a drop in our history. So I think we experienced polygamy for centuries, and therefore that need, that urge, that lifestyle is written in your DNA by now. I mean, you've been living as free Africans longer than you've been living as enslaved, Africans in the Western world. So I don't see the harm in polygamy. I have a Nigerian friend who, his father had five wives. So polygamy works. It is meant to build families. It's meant to build kingdoms. I mean, people did it. So I don't know if it works now in the Western world where we are not a free people. And the government isn't going to recognize your polygamous relationships, not here in the West. But it's been practiced among other people. I mean, Asia, Africa, other people practice it. Even well, the kings in England, you started Christianity because he wanted another wife, and he ended up with 5 wives that he ended up killing. But the concept of a man, one woman is more European, biblical Judaism thing. I don't know if the Jews have more than one wife, but that's just what we follow. But I don't necessarily think is correct. That's it.
Ooh, I appreciate you. Marcus Garvey is the way. It sounds like you have I hear a Caribbean accent. So would you say that has influenced your opinion on this, on polygamy?
What?
Growing up Caribbean.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I'm a product of polygamy. My father was married, and my mother was the outside woman. She didn't know that he was married, so I'm not the only story. So yeah, polygamy exists. As I said, people are living polygamous relationships whether they want to admit it or not in the Caribbean, around the world, even white people. When you find out that I don't know, you ever heard the story of the airline pilot who had a whole family in another state? So even white people are doing that shit. So it's not a new thing. The world's been practicing it. It's just, looked down on because you want to follow that Christian mentality. And yet the men in the Bible had Samson, David, Abraham, Moses, all of them had multiple wives. So I don't know at what point did a polygamous Bible bring it to one man, one woman. Yeah. So I think it's the hypocritical part of it.
I think it's because Christ wasn't married, so maybe that's where it's brought in. But I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm not.
But then if he wasn't married, then maybe that's what they should push then. But
I don't know.
What I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah, if you want to imitate Christ, then don't marry. But and then be like those Catholic priests that chasing children. But yeah, polygamy exists, has always existed, and will always exist, no matter what name you put on it. It's called horning. In the Caribbean, it's called horning. You're horning somebody.
Horning. Interesting. Gentlemen, any replies?
I think she said it all.
Yeah, I mean, as long as the relationships are solid, it doesn't matter. It's all about fidelity, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? No, neither partner should be, you know what I'm saying, have to, should be stuck for any kind of obligations beyond the relationship. You know what I'm saying? It should be the relationship, as long as the relationship can be stress tested, you know what I'm saying, make sure everything's good. You know what I'm saying? As long as all voices are heard and all situations are found and there's true harmony, I'm for it. As for me though, I can't be in no relationship with another man and a woman. That's just me. But you know what I'm saying? But yeah, as long as it's sound, I'm all for it. You have to have, you gotta have marriages. You want fidelity. If you're going to be open, I mean, I think a lot of that's just, again, the product of the West and bad understandings about, religion and all that. But like, you want sound relationship for the children. You know what I'm saying? Children deserve mom and dad there. That's all I'm saying.
Anyone else? Appreciate it, Black Steel. No? All right, let's read some of these comments. There was a lot. The Matron, what's going on, Matron? Welcome to the show. She says, it's because there was only one Adam and one Eve.
Chacadero.
Yeah, go ahead, Anthony.
No, we got another female going to come in. Hold up.
All right. While we wait on that.
Go ahead.
Oh, somebody with you. No?
I just called somebody.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, while we wait for them to come in, we'll read some of these comments as well. Cheryl says, monogamy and polygamy both work. She also says that if a man can show that he can provide financially and a woman also has a career, they trust each other and all that good stuff, the woman has to be willing to let go of her career. Very interesting because, the example that I had pointed out, those two individuals, Duke Dennis and former football player Cam Newton, it seemed like the women were okay or are okay with having children with the same man. So it'd be very interesting. I don't know why. Usually I try to stay away from celebrity nonsense, but if they were to ask multiple women that they had children with to be their wives, I would be interested to know what the reaction would be like. I want to get the thoughts from Marcus Garvey, is the way. Do you also feel the same, where if a man can provide financially and the woman has her own thing going on, that more, if that was the case in the West, that women would be more likely to be okay with and open with polygamy, like the way that it was in the Caribbean, how you grew up?
The West is such a weird thing, especially in America where I am. There's so many people with so many opinions, and sometimes, like the whole the sexes against each other is trending. So I think it's a hard one. I think it comes down to the individual. Some people will agree with it. Some people will say, model it like the Africans do it, where one man, multiple women, and each woman takes care of the home. He has to provide for each of them. As you said, if the woman has her own thing, maybe that works while the man also continues to provide for the home. But to me, sometimes one-on-one relationships are so hard, much less adding other people into the factor. So, it's a hard thing to define when you are raised with a Western mindset, looking at the Eastern way of life. You know what I'm saying? Because the polygamy as a working concept, as a functioning concept, is almost alien to us, because, as I said before, in the Caribbean we call it butting, horning, and you're not gonna find those situations where there's not conflict. Most of the times when a woman finds out a man is cheating on her, the two women out there brawling, carrying on, there's not a situation where there is, okay, let's share this individual, we're all benefiting from it. You know what I'm saying? So it's complicated. You would have to have like-minded people. I think for it to work, all parties involved will have to know that there shouldn't be no hiding behind the back. All parties involved should know what's going on, and there should be open communication. But once there's hiding, and it's a different, it puts it on a different level. And as I said before, it's hard to accept something where you only know conceptually, but not as a practical thing. You're not seeing successful or multiple polygamous relationships working in the West, because, as I said before, it's ego. So, we're looking from the West, looking at the East and saying, okay, this is a concept that works for them. Can it work for us?
Very, very interesting. One last comment from the chat. It's a continuation from the first comment from Afro World. It says, like, the Caribbean has high cases of HIV because of the polygamous relationships. Very, very interesting. We're at the last hour, so let's go ahead and move on to Shoot the Breeze number 4 topic. And it is when and how. When and how. And then we have a video to go with that. Drop a number 1. Once again, drop a number 1 in the chat if the video and audio presentation has been running smoothly most of the day. Once again, just drop a number 1. And let's go ahead and just watch the video that we have for you.
Allez pleurer ailleurs, s'il vous plaît. Suivant. Vous êtes ingénieur en informatique. Et mademoiselle, institutrice. Exact. Le problème, c'est que pour ce genre de poste, nos quotas sont dépassés. En revanche, actuellement, vous pouvez postuler pour des postes de maçon éboueur, cantonnier. Ah, et pour employé de maison, là, il y a une très très grosse demande.
Enfin, ça correspond pas du tout à nos qualifications.
Et vous pensez qu'un peu plus tard, vos quotas pourraient se libérer?
Vous savez, en Afrique, nous avons des écoles d'ingénieurs très pointues. Et pour l'enseignement, c'est pareil.
Ça veut dire quoi, finalement? Vous pourriez avoir besoin de nous un jour ou l'autre, ou pas?
Besoin. Ce n'est pas tout à fait le mot qui convient. Mais revenez dans un an. On ne sait jamais.
Africa, paradis.
One more time.
On se calme, chacun son tour, on se calme.
En Afrique, heureusement qu'il y a
Il manque un papier.
Comment ça, il manque un papier? J'ai tout vérifié, j'ai tout.
Il manque la quittance d'électricité.
Je peux pas l'avoir, j'ai pas un sou. Je suis incapable de la payer.
Désolé. L'Afrique ne peut accueillir un émigrant qui a des dettes. Tenez. Allez pleurer ailleurs, s'il vous plaît. Suivant. Vous êtes ingénieur en informatique. Et mademoiselle, institutrice. Exact. Le problème, c'est que pour ce genre de poste, nos quotas sont dépassés. En revanche, actuellement, vous pouvez postuler pour des postes de maçon, éboueur, cantonnier. Ah, et pour employé de maison, là, il y a une très très grosse demande.
Enfin, ça correspond pas du tout à nos qualifications.
Et vous pensez qu'un peu plus tard, vos quotas pourraient se libérer?
Vous savez, en Afrique, nous avons des écoles d'ingénieurs très pointues. Et pour l'enseignement, c'est pareil.
Ça veut dire quoi, finalement? Vous pourriez avoir besoin de nous un jour ou l'autre, ou pas?
Besoin. Ce n'est pas tout à fait le mot qui convient. Mais revenez dans un an. On ne sait jamais.
Africa, paradis.
Try again in another year. When and how? Appreciate the ones in the chat. So I don't know where to start. Let's start with the lady. Ladies first. Come on, we have chivalry here. While I'm the host, we gotta have chivalry. So Marcus Garvey is the way. We'll start off with you. When and how?
Hey, Jagadero, you got to explain that first, man. Someone didn't understand.
I apologize.
Yeah, because honestly, I couldn't see it. And the print, I'm doing this on my cell phone. I couldn't read, and I don't speak French, so I got no clue what went on. Yeah.
All right.
Oh, it's funny once you get it. It's hilarious.
So the video prompt was an example of if and when there will ever be a world where instead of Africans migrating to Europe and the rest of the West, where Europeans are migrating to Africa for the jobs and the rest of their careers. And in that video, you see that there is a steady line, a long line of individuals that are waiting to be interviewed by, it looks like somebody working for the foreign ministry or immigration office. And it's an African man. And one couple where the husband is a computer engineer and then the wife is a teacher, they're getting their application reviewed, and then the staff ask the European couple, "Oh, like, what do you do? What are your occupations?" They state, "I'm a computer engineer." And the wife states that she's a teacher. The African man then goes through his computer and says, "Currently, we do have those positions being filled by our own African engineers and teachers, but there are some jobs for bricklaying, street cleaning, and just these more minimal jobs." The couple then ask, "Do you think that something will open up in a year?" And then the black staff worker says, "We have the top engineering schools here in Africa, so you know what that means." And then the white husband says, "So that means that you might not even need us, in a year." And the African pretty much obliges and gives them and implies that that might not happen in a year. This might be totally different. We might not be accepting any European refugees. So the whole premise of the video is to say that to imagine a world where instead of African refugees and immigrants, where we have European refugees and immigrants coming into Africa, begging for jobs, begging for places to stay, begging for opportunity. So once again, we'll start off with you, Marcus Garvey is the way. Thoughts?
I mean, it is similar like Wakanda. I mean, it's all in the imagination. Yes, it's wonderful to entertain the thought and the idea, but unless we're doing real stuff in the real world, it's just entertainment. Um, I think that um personally, I think if the Europeans would let the world be and stop trying to influence it, especially like America and Europe, that we as a species would progress so much more. When Europeans run the world mainly on the idea and concept that they're white and therefore they're superior and not produce anything of a superior nature, and then you have other people and other cultures who can make leaps and bounds for humanity alone, but are held back by poverty, simple things, by not having a meal, not being able to have a book or whatever. But still, from those ashes, you still find people surface who can create a car that doesn't need water, that doesn't run on gas, or a TV that generates power that doesn't require electricity. You can still find that genius emerging from what you call a have not situation. And in a world where the people haves, they're so busy being white and enjoying their wealth that they're really not looking to add to the world, just be flamboyant and change their, display their ways of degeneracy. Because I tell people all the time, Europeans are the only people who've never changed during colonization. Everybody has had to adjust. All their colonies have had to adjust to them. So they've never changed anything that is European. They still sleep with the dead, sleep with animals, have sex with their children, all the questionable behaviors. Eat, yeah, up to now, eat half raw, undercooked meat, unseasoned meat, just the basic things they've never changed. But everybody else they've colonized have had to adjust to them. So to have a world where Africa is the icon, because to me America has put itself there, but the reality is America is not. America has put itself in the position where everybody thinks it is the place, but when you live here, that's not true. Yeah. So to have a iconic place like how Japan is and China is, and it be Africa, and Africa produce on the level as any other country, yeah, and not just on the merit of being Africa, but you have countries in Africa that can produce like Toure, the Burkina Faso guy, like he's done so much within his time period. So yes, is entertaining, as I said, is like Wakanda, but you know we have to aim towards reality. And yes, we like to laugh and entertain, but what steps are we making now to get there? That's it.
I like that. I like that. I appreciate it. Mark Scarvey is the way. And yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right. It can happen. It has happened. Once again, we are on a chivalry theme here at Shoot the Breeze. We are chivalrous individuals, and fellas, relax. We have women now, not just a woman. We have women. So coming on and speaking as a panelist, let's welcome Cheryl. Cheryl, how you doing?
Hey y'all, it's been a couple weeks. How's everybody?
I'm good, Cheryl. How about yourself?
Pretty good. Yo, you guys, when I first saw this video on Instagram, I was like, yes. And I was just thinking like, yo, this movie it was probably produced by a white person. But when white people make these movies, it's because they're scared that it could possibly happen one day if black people like came to their senses. And yeah, we know it's not happening right now, but it's like, I was just looking at that and I was like, yeah, that's what need to happen right now. Like, but even like, I'll take it one step further though. Like, I would even say, let's not do that. Like, let's just send all white people back to their beautiful countries. And if we have to, just ration off resources to them. If they need our resources that bad, just ration off some resources. And so they're not hoarding all of it like they're doing right now. I think that's a great idea and it's a great plan. And it could happen, maybe not right now, but it's very possible that it could happen, because when white people put stuff in movies, it's because they're scared that stuff is going to happen. It's just like with Children of Men. I don't know if you guys ever seen that. It's about white population growth. When they put stuff in movies, they're scared. And so, like, yeah, we need to do it, because we don't need to have any more white people in Africa. They've done enough. They've done enough. They need to go back. If they need some resources, we'll holler at you. So there. Okay, I'm done.
I appreciate it, Cheryl, and thank you for coming on to the show. Man, great insight. This was my first time seeing this clip, but it filled me with joy as well, because this is not only a potential future, but the way that the world is going. Africa is the way. All right, let's get our third panelist to speak on. Let's go with Anthony. Anthony, what say you?
Yeah, man. First of all, I want to say, thank you to the sisters, man, for the great input that they put in too, man. Marcus Garvey is away, and Cheryl, man, and I agree with both of them, especially Marcus Garvey, when she said, you know what I'm saying? I agree with her 100%, man. I want to see the real thing, you know what I'm saying? Not the TV thing, not the, that right there, let's see the real thing. Because right now, as we speak, like, and also, it's also as Cheryl said, these people see that their shit is over with. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have Trump, like, talking about raising tariffs against, we was talking about the BRICS earlier, about South Africa and the countries with the BRICS, when they talk about the de-dollarization, hurting the American currency. I'm saying that they know that their time is up. America, Western Europe, and when I say America and Western Europe or Europe, I'm saying they synonymous with me. Both of them, they synonymous with me. But what I'm saying, even right now, you just had not too long ago, I think about a week or two ago, where Trump sent in this commission, this delegation over to the Congo. You know what I'm saying? They're trying to so-called negotiate a peace agreement between the Democratic Republic of the Congo and they stool pigeon Paul Kagame. You know what I'm saying? Because we got to fix this thing. We got to get this straight, because the eyes of the world are now open. The eyes of black people everywhere are open. The continent, on the African continent, are open. We know now that these stool pigeons that y'all got in place, like Kagame and even Museveni, and others, and when you got a weak puppet president like Tshisekedi in Congo, you got these guys in Cote d'Ivoire and other places like this. We know that it's time to run all of these people up out of here. It is time for us to take, Africa, take our sovereignty in our hands, man. To control our land, control our resources, and these people know it's over with, so they doing everything they can. You got, man, look here, I was just checking out a documentary, man, that about the Congo. You got so many millions and millions of Congolese people. You know what I'm saying? Men, women, and children, and particularly women being victims of rape and stuff like that. With all this bullshit. You got so many of these Belgians and Western Europeans and American people over there buying land in Congo. You know what I'm saying? Got farms, and engaged in mining and stuff like that, and living their best lives. All over. We see about the year return and brothers and sisters from the diaspora from America going back to Africa. But I'm telling you, it's more of them hunkies going over there than anybody. You know what I'm saying? Chinese and Arabs and other people, East Indians, coming over here and parlay and trying to buy up land and doing things and living their best lives over there. You know what I'm saying? So that scenario is really happening. And I'm saying it's just like these different phases of colonialism, of neocolonialism. You know, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah talked about, you know, okay, colonialism is over with, now it's neocolonialism. Okay, we saying, okay, we went through neocolonialism, but we still got to deal with this other shit, neocolonialism too. You know, this other thing, you know, the buying off of puppet leaders, you know, and putting puppet leaders in place, you know, who not looking out for the people, you know, who just want to fill their pocketbooks like a Paul Biya in Cameroon, who been president since 1982. You know what I'm saying? And barely spent 10 years in Cameroon. You know what I'm saying? With all of the money that he needs, you know what I'm saying, and exploiting his people, and all kind of bullshit going on in Cameroon. But I'm just saying, so, I mean, that scenario is now far off. You know what I'm saying? I mean, these white folks are already going over there trying to say we need to go over here and get it while we can, you know, before these Africans wake up. You know, because see, right now, Traore and Chiani and the Simi Garza, they waking people up, and pretty soon they're going to run us out from all us from over here. You know what I'm saying? So we need to come over here and get it while we can. And so I think that the mindset need to be, we need to convince our brothers and sisters on the continent, you know, that, hey, look here, I understand, look, okay, you don't want to judge, y'all don't want to judge everybody by the same stripe. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, when I say, to me, I say all of them white folks ain't none of them no good, ain't none of them no good. You know, you want to say, well, everyone can't be any good. But okay, maybe that might be true. Maybe it is. I don't think so. But you got to look at it like, look here. If a snake bites you, when you go back in the backyard to find that snake, you don't give it to any snake you see. It's gonna be the snake that you cut his head off. You got to look at it that way. You got to look at it like, okay, yeah, this white man might come in peace, but hell, they came with missionaries the first time, and next thing you know, they were building castles. You know what I'm saying? And the castles turned into slave dungeons. You know what I'm saying? And from that, it turned into a colony. So we got to look at it like that. You got to look at it like, hey, look here, we don't need y'all. We need a moratorium. All you white folks, all you East Indians, all you outside Arabs, everybody, y'all need to stay the hell away from us until we get our shit together. You know what I'm saying? And when we get our shit together, then we can know how, okay, when we strong enough to deal with other people, but like deal with some of these people at arm's length. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes, you know, when you shake hands with the devil, you know, he got blood on his hands, and all he's thinking about is putting more blood on his hands to get your shit. You know what I'm saying? I know I went on a little bit, man. I'm gonna knock off right there, but I'm just saying, yeah, that was funny, and I loved it, and I hope it's a real thing. But I think we got to make that shit be true. We can't use fairy tale. We got to have this. That shit got to be true. I knock off right there.
Appreciate it, Anthony. Before we go to the next panelist, let's read some of these comments. White people have been migrating to Black civilizations for thousands of years, and they were in the poor position. They eventually wanted to usurp, I hope that's how you pronounce the word, Trigger Happy says, these places. Trigger Happy also adds that the Indus Valley, Kemet, and Carthage comes to mind as great examples. Absolutely. I know about Kemet. I know about that. Afro World asks me, wouldn't say Kenya is already like that with all the non-Black people living there? As far as what specifically are you asking, if it's already a fight for jobs and to already be in Kenya? I'd say to already be in Kenya, I don't think that there's like a mass migration, I wouldn't say. When I was last there, the line for tourists versus the line at the customs, at the airport side for the customs, wasn't as long as the line for returning Kenyans that, you know, it's often that Kenyans work in the Mideast. So the lines for Kenyans that were returning back home from the Mideast was a little longer than the tourist line. So I can't say that for sure. Cheryl says, living their best life on the continent with suntan oil. Let's keep moving on. Real Black Gentleman, what you got to say about the prompt and the video you see?
Well, I mean, it's funny. I'm amused by it. You know what I'm saying? But I understand, like, to have a level where I think imagining like a situation like that. I mean, Africa could get there, but it goes back to like the whole consolidation processes and making sure that there's whole like, just I can imagine a situation where it's like, black people hold the line on, hold that Sahel line, and it's just like, right behind that line is very, very organized. Everything's paved and orderly, and the energy and everything's built up, and like they had to crawl across the desert to get there. Like, so you can. At that point, we'd probably be able to fly them back out, return them to sender. Give them a little bit. Couple of little cookies on the way back, and if at that point, just we don't need you. There's no reason to keep and harbor any of that. For all that, we can just go over there, occupy, and just make sure that they, just stay there for a little bit, just quell any problems, fly back, and just be cool. For all that, because why bother keeping them there? They're the ones with the troubles. Are you really running all the way around the world? Really? It's like, nah, you can't do all that. You know that you're gonna be problematic. You couldn't go to the next country over type energy. Like, what I'm saying? You had to run all the way over to black folks. You had to do all that. That, what I'm saying? You could bunker down where you were. That, what I'm saying? That refugee energy is not really a black thing, honestly. I don't really see it like too much trans, country movings of people within like black countries. It might happen like, again, like, but not to the degree where you're going like migrating, like how these people is like from, all the way from Venezuela all through. They just didn't, it's not like they just stayed at Colombia and it's like the next country. They didn't go to Brazil, the next country over. It's like, you see what I'm getting at. It's like people go all, meandering, and what's the word I want to say? When you just marauding. They say migrating, but when you migrate, you go back to the same place that you came from. You can't. That's the thing. Those aren't migrants. Migrants go back to where they come every year regularly. When you have people moving across, that's some meandering. I don't know what I would call that. Some just meandering, and you don't need to do all that. Like, the only way I think Africa can get to the point where it's like that. I think for me, I was kind of saying this in the chat. I do think it will be an irregular process. And I've said this, I think on before, not all Africa is on the same type of time, and we can't act like everyone's going to be on the same type of time. We just have to know that it's daylight. At some point, just on physical shit, where I'm saying at one point Africa is going to be sunrise, and other parts still going to be, before dawn. It's just the nature of life. There's an unevenness to it, and that's okay. We don't have to make straight lines, although strong geometry is a sign, of strength. I would love to see some real, short distance, solutions that Africans can solve. But I do think that it'll be an irregular process. I think we have, if you had like, 4 or 5 turfs, AESI turf clusters of confederations, and just like within, because 6 is a nice easy number you can mess with. It's not perfect, and it's not necessary. It can be a little bit unwieldy, and 6 can be a little jumbly, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we got 16 is good. Okay, we can move on. You know what I'm saying? We're all in agreement with 6 heads of governance is good. Okay, we can move on to the next thing. And then if the other black nations can see that, okay, maybe they'll start to consolidate just to be a better. This is what I'm saying. You're going to have some degree of experimentation. That's the way of just nations. You don't want all the African nations to operate all the same way. I don't think that should be the way. You're going to lose all your sense of relative, the regionalities, even within the nation structures. You got to let peoples mix and do things slightly different, but just enough so that the people surrounding them might be able to recognize, oh, they do it like that instead of like this. Okay, we can make the adjustment. You know what I'm saying? We can, when we're in their zone, we can, we can act like them. I see what's going on. It's not something that should be alien. But I just don't see it happening overnight where it's just like, just because you have too many heads of states that are, singular about their stuff. I mean, what's the point of having United States of Africa when the peoples really don't have any say about what's going on? That's kind of what's going on with the AU. It's like I think the Chinese built AU building and bugged it, had all spying on everything. So like, just having just the natural ability of having countries, because we can't get all of them, and that's just the reality. You're not getting all of them right now. That's effective. So the whole point is just breaking down into smaller clusters. If you have an AES, and maybe you can, Lord knows, resurrect the East African community and like get them locked up. Hey, yo, you can change the game. And that's just 2 organizations. That's what I'm talking about. And then from there, peoples in the middle will kind of consolidate, or maybe choose one or the other. You gotta let that aggregation and kind accretion happen. The gravity and the strength of the organization should draw others to it. Like I would hope Chad would join the AES. I would hope that these things would happen. I mean, hell, I would go so far. The problem is like northern Nigeria are just head-assed about their terror for real, and they're just Islamism. They actually attacked Niger. They attacked their infrastructure going into Niger. They're just wrong to people. They're fanatics. They're zealots in northern Nigeria. I don't like them. A lot of the people in the whole region don't like them in particular. But you know what I'm saying? It's just like, but Niger, you know what I'm saying, it's just there. You know what I'm saying? It's doing its thing. It's having this lot in nationhood. They ain't trying to bother no one. No one ain't trying to bother them except these individual groups of people. Lord knows if it just the, when we talk about Cameroon and if again more head-assness, where it's like that guy's media is just backwards, old and rules from the back. He's not a leader. He's too old to lead. He just has his lieutenants and, you know what I'm saying, stand-ins do stuff in his steed, and Lord knows whether or not he knows what they're doing. So that means more there's chaos because the people don't trust the leader. They have to go to the in-between, and you know what I'm saying? He's 90, he's 92. He's not, I don't care if you're 92 or not. I mean, even Mugabe, he made it to 90. I ain't mad at it. I wasn't trying to kick him out either. But I mean, I'm sure at some point he had people in his go-between. You know what I'm saying? It's just, you just miss a step at that point. I just, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. Just people a third your age out here doing it. So it's like,
Real Black Gentleman, you still with us?
Oh, my bad. Yeah. Yeah, it's just like, oh geez, my bad. I kind of lost my train of thought. Geez, I lost my train of thought. Shoot, where was I at? Oh, the nationhood. Yeah. It's like you have to. There's going to be unevenness. I do think that a lot of the regional organizations like the SADC, if they are just not more than paper organizations, it's like you have to have hard like things that people can put on a map and draw lines and say, draw the lines on the map. That's a country. This is us. It's kind of zigzaggy. It's not a perfect circle. It's not a perfect square. There's some rivers. There's some mountains. It's some hard lines we had to fight for, and then there's an ocean. That's the country, okay? I'm a pass the mic.
Very powerful statement, Real Black Gentleman. I appreciate it. Koku, if you after this full recording uploads, if you get any comments that are negative from Nigeria and Cameroon, you can just go ahead and thank Real Black Gentleman, because I don't believe that they'll be appreciative for what he had to say about those countries. Nonetheless, Black Steel, what do you have to say?
Jacadera, you sound like a radio host, brother.
I appreciate that.
You need to be introducing the Quiet Storm tonight.
Hey, let's focus.
All right. I think it's, I'm all about make believe and fictional things. And, let's turn. How would it behave? Let's be honest, right? Let's keep it a buck. There's no way African people would treat Europeans the way Europeans have treated us, right? This is a fear that white people have long held, but it's not a fear based on anything, because Black people have long African people have long demonstrated a humanity that white people just simply don't possess, right? If it was the other way around, right, I could see African people opening up the doors with open arms. They'd be having parties and celebrations because Africans tend to be not xenophobic, but xenophilic. You know, I think it was Dr. John Henry Clark who said the white man never had to fight his way onto any shore. And I believe that's very true. If you look at the history of exploration and what Europeans call the age of exploration, the age of discovery, it really was the age of piracy and theft and murder. But when they were first, for example, when Columbus first came to the Americas, you know, he landed in somewhere what is now the Bahamas. Those people didn't fight him. He didn't have to deal with the rain of arrows. They brought him fruit. They brought him they brought him parrots. They brought him women. You know, they brought, you know, it wasn't a situation where they had to fight their way on board, you know, from the beach to get a toehold. It wasn't like if you look at those old World War II movies, you know, you have the soldiers fighting their way onto the beaches of Normandy. It wasn't like that for white people when they fought indigenous people, when they fought Africans and Asians and whatnot. The only place, I would say, the only place that was hostile towards the Europeans is what? The Japanese and North Sentinel Island, Indian Ocean. You know, the Japanese was out here beheading shipwrecked sailors, and you know, even North Sentinel Island didn't start off as hostile. You had they would you know, playing and hanging out with people until there was an outbreak of measles or something like that. But overall, the European has never had to contend themselves with a beachhead offensive. It was them who had been hostile towards people coming into their countries. And now they have, you know, tried to extend that to what if they did it to us. We would never do it to them. We love white people too much. Not at all. Not at all. I don't believe, even in a fictional world, I can't see African people treating Europeans with a quota. They might kick another black person out their job to give a white person a job. It's really quite sad. But if it were to take place, right? If we were to have a radical restructuring of the world as it exists, I think that white people would not take it lying down, you know. They would not internalize it the way black people do. Whenever black people are faced with an obstacle, right, we make it seem like the problem is us, right? We weren't able to come up to the standard because we're not good enough, right? But when it comes to the European, they would work to undermine that system. They would attack that system. And it's that aggression that African people as a whole tend to lack when dealing with other people. We'll be aggressive as hell when it comes to dealing with other black people. But when it comes to dealing with other people, we don't tend to have that bloodlust. That's just my thoughts on it. I'll leave it there. Thank you, Jack.
Absolutely, man. Thank you, Black Steel. Something to ponder about. While we do so, let's read some of these comments. Trigger Happy says colonialism has neutered the survival thrust that we used to have. Yeah, we would be nice to the Greeks, but we would be no pushovers. Colonialism makes us protect Wazungu. I'll substitute, that's a little Swahili word for you guys, and not protect black people. Afro World asks, Cheryl, what do you recommend for black North Africans from those countries? Cheryl replies, leave. If they want to assimilate with the Arabs, they can. If they want to go to real black areas, they will go. Any rebuttals on the panel? Please feel free. Just go ahead and just chime in on this second to last prompt that we have here.
Yeah, not a rebuttal. Not kind of a little bit. Not a rebuttal. But I mean, but just in conjunction to what Black Steel was talking about. Yeah, exactly. Hey, how many times you heard this, Black Steel? Me and you growing up in the hood. You tell a brother, man, I'll tear your damn head off. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know, I mean, we bold as hell. I could be a Crip gang banger, and I'll drive in a blood hood. Or I could be a blood, and I'll drive in a Crip neighborhood to go over there and kill a blood, to kill another brother who wearing a red rag. But a motherfucking police officer, a white police, or a white boy can come over here and kill my brother or whatever, and all the thing we gonna do is march and throw hands up, and hands up, don't shoot. You know what I'm saying? All that type of bullshit there. I mean, here we go in South Africa. We got these criminals who came over and stole our country, who killed hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of our ancestors, parlayed our country into an empire for them. Still running our country. Own 70-75% of the land, control the economy, all our life-sustaining situations. And guess who the only motherfucker we got smoke for? A Zimbabwean coming over here to try to have a better life. A Mozambican coming over here to try to have a better life. A Botswanan coming over here to try to have a better life. A Nigerian coming over here to try to have a better life, or to take advantage of an economic situation. And guess what? At the same time, while we doing all that, guess what we do? We will support a white girl being Miss South Africa over a sister. You know, over a sister whose one parent was born in South Africa, one parent was born in Mozambique. And we'll call her a foreigner. Yeah, the white man's Isis Cola, but we worship his ass. We worship her ass. We think that they the be all and end all, that they the best. They the best at everything. You know, I done made it because I'm with this old ugly, nasty white bitch. You know what I'm saying? Or because I'm with this old string hair, sticky ass white bread. You know what I'm saying? Instead of being with this beautiful African woman or this beautiful African man, you know, or with our beautiful African people. You know, I got to go over here to this country and make it over here and fuck my country. My country is a shithole. Yeah, I agree with Donald Trump. Instead of coming back to my country and working and making my country the best country. You know, bringing all my skills that I took to the West to make them good, instead of bringing it back to my country to make it good. You know what I'm saying? We need a reality check. And not only Africans, black people on the continent, but black people in America and black people everywhere else. We got Negroes now running around talking about they indigenous, talking about they Cherokees and Blackfoots and all this shit. And even in the Caribbean, we got them talking about, they got the Negroes down there saying now Bob Marley was an Arawak, a Taino. You know what I'm saying? This identity crisis, it just leads to our hatred of ourselves. You know, our disrespect of ourselves. We ain't shit. We got to have validation from white folks and from other folks, you know, to prove that we bad shit instead of validating ourselves. You know what I'm saying? I don't get a book and read no book and say Karl Marx or Mao Zedong anybody is a theoretician I follow. You know what? I go read a book by Amilcar Cabral. I go read a book by Black Steel. You know what I'm saying? I go listen to what Black Steel got to tell me before I go listen to what some honky got to tell me. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to hear about Allah and Jesus and all that, you know, and then put down Olodumare or Malungu. You know what I'm saying? Or Nzambe, any of our spiritual, our African deities. It's just we got to get this bullshit out of our mind, man, that we less than. I mean, before these white folks came here and started fucking with us in Africa, I mean, we had the most developed civilization and culture. The Europeans went in the 1500s. The Europeans went to the Kingdom of Benin. You know what I'm saying? And they seen the Benin city. You know what I'm saying? They seen the cities, the capitals of West Africa, whether it was from the Oyo Kingdom or the Benin Kingdom or the Asante Kingdom. And they said, man, these cities are beautiful, well laid out, well organized. I mean, the governments are well ran. I mean, you know, the political process, it's just magnificent. And we forgot that, you know, colonialism and slavery taught us that we didn't do shit. Well, we did all kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? Well, we was more sophisticated than they were. And so, man, we just got to No, we got to come back to us. Come back to us. We got to realize, hey man, you know what? Jacadero could tell me something. Black Steel could tell me something. Cheryl Izzy could tell me something. Marcus Garvey is the way could tell me something. I ain't got to go and listen at Immanuel Kant. I ain't got to go and listen at what's his name, the one who made Superman the Man, Zarathustra speaking out. I ain't got to listen at none of these motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? I can listen at people who look like me. I can listen at Sankara. I can listen at Nkrumah. I can listen at Touré. I can listen at Nyeri. You know what I'm saying? I can listen at Walter Rodney. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just using them, but I'm saying all kind of Malcolm X, all kind of, I can listen to people who look like me, people who are like me, who are me. You know what I'm saying? And get what I need to get. Instead of always got to turn around and we worry about the goddamn Pope. Oh, how's the Pope doing? Oh, how's the Queen in England doing? Oh, how's this and that and all this shit. We disvalue our own selves, man. We disvalue our own selves. It makes me think about what Bakari said. We are the children of the world. You know what I'm saying? We the children of the world. Everybody else grown, we children. And so we got to do what our parents tell us to do. Our parents and other people. Instead our parents are parents that look like us. You know what I'm saying? Instead of going for my own values, going for my Kikuyu values, going for my Luau values, going for my Acholi values. You know what I'm saying? Going for my Kalenjin values. I mean, we just got to get over this shit, man. We got to learn to respect ourselves as black people, to respect what we done did and know that we have done something. You know, and quit going with all this old bullshit, man. I'll land my plane right there.
I'm sorry, they said Bob Marley was a what?
That he was an indigenous person.
What? Like, we know his mom was black as the ace of spades. And
Yeah,
his
we
dad
know.
is a whole ass white man. What?
Hey, Carl, hey, Steel, look, it's a documentary about 40 minutes long about who are the real Jamaicans. In the picture, they got Bob Marley on there.
I can't wait to not watch that. No, I'm not. I'm good. Oh, wow, that's crazy. That's insane.
Anthony, before we have everybody else reply if they want to, you said that we gotta we're children. We need to respect our parents, right? So pretty much like we're the kids, right? And so just wanted to share. Just give me a moment here.
Make a brighter day, so let's start giving.
All right. We are the world, huh? We're a charity case. Anybody else? Any last comments before we get to the last Shoot the Breeze topic? All right. Okay. Our last Shoot the Breeze topic. Well, hold on. Do we have somebody? We're gonna add. We got Kofi that we brought to the stage. Kofi, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me here. I just tuned in. Really powerful what Anthony said, and Black Steel had me dying about the whole like that's great. All the Jamaicans saying that, because that's insane.
Yeah, Kofi, I seen it. When I seen it, I couldn't believe it, man. I said, hey man, it's about who are the real. It's called Who Are the Real Jamaicans, and they had Bob Marley up there, and like he was a Taino or Arawak, one of the indigenous people. You know what I'm saying? That the Jamaicans were the indigenous people, and also they had the same thing. The brothers in Haiti. Well, we are off on the show, Koku. We know that Erzuli say we indigenous. No, he's the Haitian FBA. But I mean, it's a growing thing, man. It is a sister who did a video. I sent it to Coco. I don't know. It been about a month or something. Where the sister called. She was a black. She'll notice a black woman. It said she was from the Bahamas. We all know it ain't been no indigenous people in the Bahamas for 300 years. They killed them all. Exactly. When the Spanish killed them. They killed them all. And she said that she was an indigenous Bahamas Bahamian woman. I fell out laughing.
That's insane. I mean, the same thing with me. They had. I was looking at because they got these animation type videos when they're talking about countries. So they're talking about my country, Guyana, and they're showing you like the indigenous people of Guyana being black. I'm like, why are they showing a black man with an afro being indigenous Guyana? They're like, no, like this is like, what is going on here? So it's again, it's like when it comes to us, being black is never good enough. You have to be a rich black person. You have to be a Republican black person, a Democrat black person, a black person that lives here, a black person because being black is never good enough. So we always have to attach blackness to something else because it has no value. Like, and I heard y'all say it's like keep on repeating it, but it's how we're looking at ourselves with white lenses. We're not looking at ourselves as how our ancestors look upon themselves with pride and respect. So it's just sad. It's just sad.
All right. Well, we are getting to the hour, getting down to the last part of the hour. Again, this is Shoot the Breeze, episode 197. We're on our last prompt. When I accepted to take over for Kofi, take over for Koku, I had asked if I could have full control over the topics, and that's what I'm going to do. So topic number 5 is my topic, and it is Tanzania a bully? Now, before we go with the video and watch what I mean, let me preface this with recently, I believe in the past week, Tanzania has had its opposition leader tried for crimes of treason as well as incitement of youth. So the current president and the government has put Tanzania's opposition named Lissu Tundu on trial for, again, treason and youth incitement. The first case, the first day of trial, a Kenyan and a Ugandan, well, many Kenyan activists and many Ugandan activists tried to enter Tanzania through the border, through aerial border, through the airport, as well as through the road border, in support of the opposition leader. Some were sent back and denied access into the country, and then some were let into the country, and we are going to see what had happened. So some were let into the country, and they stated that they were tortured and then deported. So we're going to watch a video of one of the Kenyan activists. His name is Boniface Mwangi, and a Ugandan activist as well. But I believe that the clip is more along showing more of the Kenyan activist's torture statement while he was in Tanzania. So let's go ahead. Let's take a look.
These questions, they are just written. Feel good and say thank their president. Then they took us for about 20 minutes. Then they took us to a building. To this place where they went to torture us. When you go there, they told me to get off the car, came out. And then they banged the door on my face. I had a mark here. I don't know if it's still there. I don't know what they were waiting for. Then they were putting some things ready. They got me out. I was still handcuffed and blindfolded. And they told me to strip naked. And they stripped naked. When I stripped naked, they removed my handcuffs. And then I was grabbed by about 4 men, and they lifted me up so fast. Before they lifted me, actually, they put some gloves on my hands. Then they lifted me up. They lifted me up and tied me upside down. There's a photo I saw online about what they did to us. It's in my bag. You can distribute when I'm done talking. So we were put on upside position where my legs were up like this. My body's up. I'm stuck naked. And then they started beating my feet. So they would beat me and massage my feet. Beat me and massage my feet. I was screaming so hard. I couldn't even, there was no tears coming out because of how painful it was. And one of them said, put his hand in his mouth. So they put my hand in my mouth. And they would tell me, stop screaming. The kids are sleeping. And then to drown my screams, they opened the car because I could hear them. They were playing gospel music in the background. They beat me. Then they removed the underwear from my mouth, and they started questioning me, asking my name, where are you from, why are you here, who sent you, why are you coming to destabilize our country? And then they said, Wekamoto. So some guy put lubricant in my rectum, in my anus, and then started inserting objects. They insert objects and put it Dude, it's okay. They would put objects in my anus and then say you're feeling nice, say you're feeling good. Then you say Asante Samia, Asante Samia. So I say Asante to their president. Then they'll push hard and then put it out again. They did that. Say I started bleeding. And they dropped me. Then I'm still blindfolded. They took me to a wall. And then told me to face the wall and then squat. Then a man came and was putting his fingers in my anus and then saying that, say you're feeling nice, say you're feeling good, say Asante Samia. Then they would do that. And then they would do that. And then they told me to turn around. I'm naked. So all this time they're telling me they're recording everything they're doing to us, or rather they're doing to me. So they're recording this. They're teaching me a lesson. So I'm stuck naked. They turn me around, say your name, your wife's name, your kid's name, where do you live, where do they go to school. I'm naked. And they removed the blindfold and said, now, so when I'm answering these questions, when I turn around, when I'm answering these questions, they are just threatening me. So like when they're abusing me, they're saying I should feel good and say thank their president for doing that to me, like Semasan.
Try to see that once again.
No, bro, I'm good. I'm gonna see that again, bro.
All right.
You don't need to show that again, bro.
No,
bro.
no
That was a hard watch, man.
No problem.
Oh my Lord.
All right, before we get into the panel, because they have a lot to say, I assume that those that are viewing also have a lot to comment. Once again, the Shoot the Breeze topic number 5, the last topic of of the night is Tanzania a bully? What we just watched was Kenyan social activist Boniface Mungi retelling his experience being tortured in Tanzania after being in the country to support the opposition leader Tisu Lundu on his trial of treason and incitement of violence. Was Tanzania going too far, according to the alleged claims by Boniface Mungi? Did President of Tanzania, Samia Suluhu Hassan, go too far and overreach her power, abuse of power? Should Kenya respond? Let's go ahead and, I mean, this is tough. And they usually say that women are more emotionally connected than men. We're going to start with a woman. Cheryl, what say you?
Honestly, I don't even know what to even say to any of that, because wow, that's some, like, I don't know, that's weird. That's like some European stuff. I don't even know why that tactic. So I don't because I don't know her history. I don't know any how she is, like, running the country. I don't know anything about that. So honestly, I don't even know what to say or to think. So I don't know. Just yuck. Like, why that? It just makes me wonder, like, why that tactic of all the ways to torture somebody? Like, why would you do that? Is it like some, like, emasculating thing? I don't know, because she's a woman president. I can't even say that because I don't know. I don't know who, if in fact this did actually happen. I just don't know.
It is a claim that he has made. It has not been confirmed by Tanzanian authorities. But again, it is a claim that he has made. He has been challenged about his claim and the authenticity of everything that has happened to him, not only by Tanzanian authorities, but also some Kenyan politicians and also some Kenyan social activists themselves. One in particular, give me a moment to think of his name, Gaidho, Francis Gaidho on Twitter, or the platform formerly known as Twitter. Actually has said that this is just to he was doing this for clout, and it was just to get his numbers up and so he can get paid. Boniface Mungi, just a little history about him. He is a long time, some could say a career running social activist, social justice warrior. He was one of the many among the front lines of last year's anti-finance bill protests in Nairobi and Mombasa in Kenya against William Ruto. He has been a stern and steady critic of William Ruto's government in Kenya. We're going to go to another woman. Oh, go ahead, Cheryl.
Oh, just one more thing. Like, I know this might sound like, I like, it might sound insensitive, if it actually did happen, but I'm just saying, I ain't see no tears, and it just, why would a man, especially in where he's from, come out and say that on live television, like, for the whole world to see, unless he was being compensated in some form or fashion? Because most men, even if something like that happens to them, they're not admitting that for real. Like, they're not going to just come out, like, and admit that. And so I don't know. It's not enough information for me to believe it. But hey, I guess it's possible. I don't know.
Are Kenyans on the internet in an uproar? Yes. Since he has given that statement, Kenyans on the internet have been in an uproar, asking for accountability from President of Tanzania, Samia Suluhu Hassan. All right. Thoughts from another woman from the panel. Marcus Garvey is the way. What say you?
I have to quote Bob Marley by saying, "Man to man is so unjust." Also, all is fair in love and war. Unfortunately, I don't know the full situation with Tanzania and Kenya, but if that is being used as torture tactics, I to question why that specific way. to torture someone. You know, like that sounds like the stuff that happens in Guantanamo Bay, not necessarily tactics that Africans would use. But again, you know, I don't know the full story. I know that America does hire mercenaries, and people got, you know, weird kinks. American soldiers do get hired to do these things. If the person, I don't know if the person's face was covered or not. So who knows? You know, who did it? But I think it's a unfortunate situation that this is the way that they chose to torture someone, especially in a Muslim country. You wouldn't think that that would be the specific way that they would go about that kind of thing. You know, rape is constant globally against women, but male rape, I don't know. You know, so that's all I can say.
True indeed. Pretty tough to hear his statements. Also, it makes you question on what exactly leads one to commit that alleged act. And I know Anthony's got a lot to say. Before we get to Anthony, let's read some of these comments here. Cheryl says, yuck. Yeah, pretty disgusting. Goku Bitter Medicine says, stop at a blood clot crying. So, yeah. I mean, you know, this is I have my own opinion on this as well. I'll give it after each and every one of you guys. Provide for Triggers says, isn't that what is said of women when they report abuse? Typical. They are not believed. Once again, isn't that what is said of women when they report abuse? Typically, they are not believed. So are we likely to believe this gentleman? Anthony, what say you about Boniface Mungi's claims on torture being in Tanzania?
Kick him up the yard, man. Hey, no, I'm just bullshit. Hey, look here, man. Look here. Okay, check it. Oh, in seriousness. I don't look here. Okay. I was listening at it and I was seeing some of the same thing that the sister was saying. You know, like, you know, I'm like, you know what, you know, the tears, and I mean it kind of looked like, but at the same time, you know, it could, you never know, I mean, what goes through a person's mind, man, you know, the psychological damage they go through. Because see, I've seen that up close. I've seen it up close and personal. You know, I mean, see, because that's the thing that, you know, you're not gonna hear a lot about man rape. Now, I was in prison. Y'all know I already told you I've been in prison before, and I've seen that. I've seen it. You know, thank God it didn't happen to me, but I'm saying, but I've seen it happen to other people. You know what I'm saying? And what I'm saying, okay, let me go this way right here. Let's talk about the government of Tanzania. Now we know the government of Tanzania. Oh, this sister who is the president of Tanzania now, Madam Miss Samia Suluhu. Okay, remember she was vice president when President John Magufuli was president. No, John Magufuli, no, our great ancestor, rest in power, was a Pan-Africanist, and he was a brother more like in the line of Ibrahim Traore. You know what I'm saying? No, maybe not to the exact extent that Traore was. You know, I mean, he was like working his way. You know, and don't get me wrong. You know, yeah, you know, Magufuli had. You know, you could talk about this and that about it. I thought he was a respectable man. Man, he was a respectable brother. I respected him. But I'm saying when he died, the paradigm switched in Tanzania. It went from a Pan-Africanist paradigm and from us all worried about ourselves and doing our own thing to opening back up, you know, to the West. You know what I'm saying? To America, to Western Europe. You know what I'm saying? It's not the same. It's not the same government now, man. No, it's not the same program. You know, even though you may hear certain things from them, but it's a different thing, man. You know, they're more in tune with the West now. You know, Magufuli was a president who he just been spending the money, the government's money, going to Europe and going to America and sitting, you know, going over to visit an American president and all that stuff. You know, He was focused more on building a greater Tanzania. No, this government right now, not so much. You know, I mean, this government right now, I don't want to talk bad because there's a sister in charge, and I don't want to come off like, you know, I'm denigrating the sister and everything, which I'm not. But I mean, the facts are the facts, man, and we got to realize, you know, the policy that they're going after now is more of a pro-Western thing. Okay, so you get to, you know, these tactics like torture tactics. This ain't nothing new, man. It's been happening in countries all over Africa, you know, and over the world, period. You know what I mean? You know, that's what happened. Y'all can remember one thing. Okay, my favorite singer of all time, my entertainer, was Fela Kuti from Nigeria. Y'all remember Fela had a song called "Water Get No Enemy." Now, you know, Fela was against the Nigerian. He went up against the Nigerian government a whole lot. He got arrested a whole lot. He got beat up and brutalized a whole lot. Now, in his song, "Water Get No Enemy," it's a part of the song, midway through the song, where it said the government was saying to him, like if you disagree, I'll molest you. I mean, it said that word, I'll molest you. Listen to the song. Go back and listen to the song, "Water Get No Enemy." He was talking about that then, when he was locked up, how they did that same kind of shit to him. Old Fela talked about it. He said it. So, I mean, it's not like it wouldn't happen. You know, I could go back to the governments of Mafias in Guayma in Equatorial Guinea. You know what I'm saying? That same shit went on. You know, to the government of Mobutu in Congo DRC, that shit went on. You know what I'm saying? The government's all over. You know, with the one with that fool Abdurrahmani in the Comoros, that kind of shit went on. So it's not nothing new. No, these torture tactics that they learn from other people. You know what I'm saying? That they learn, you know, like some presidents, some governments, like I remember Eric Gary in Grenada, he sent some of his people to Chile to learn torture tactics from Augusto Pinochet. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they did some of the same shit. You know, Lasimbe never did the same shit in Togo. So yeah, that kind of shit went on. And like I said, just listen to that song, Fela, "Water Get No Enemy," where he said, if what the government was telling him is a part of the song, we say, if you I'm trying to remember the exact word. He said, like, if you protest, I'll molest you. But he said the part, "I'll molest you," clearly. You know, and then he was talking about the shit that they did to him when he was locked up. So yeah, man, you know, yeah, it's hard, it was hard to look at, and like, and then, it's a man, saying, what happened to him, and like, for the same reason that Sister Cheryl was saying, I mean, I look at it and say, like, yeah, I agree with that. That could be true, but at the same time, like, it could be true, like what he was saying, I mean, it was hard to say that, that they did those kind of things to him. You know what I'm saying? And, and think about him saying it, coming out and saying it, like, our people, man, our people strange sometimes. We look at it like, we got to almost kind of like a blame the victims kind of thing, among us. Oh, well, you wanted that, or you asked for that, stuff like that. The stuff you hear when you hear a sister just because she dressed a certain way, and some old savage fool thought he can go and get her and do what he wanted to do with her, and they say that she asked for it. You know what I'm saying? Just because she dressed a certain way. But they'll look at him like, oh man, the way you talking about that, just for the simple fact that he's talking about it. Hey man, you talking about that, man, you should have kept that to yourself. Don't let nobody know that. Don't tell nobody, but he's trying to expose, hey, what happened to him? But other people will look at it like, man, why you saying that kind of stuff, and might put it to it like, well, no, he lying. That's his, he must have had a gay fantasy or something, some old stupid shit like that. But yeah, man, yeah, it was hard. It's hard to look at, man. It's hard to hear, because it's a subject that, especially us as men, like a lot of us don't want to hear. Me personally, I've seen it up close and personal. I've seen that kind of shit happen. But yeah, man, it was, yeah, I wouldn't put it. I say whether I agree that it happened or that he was telling the truth. I would lean more toward yes, he's telling the truth. But but I don't know. We don't know. We weren't there. But I mean, I can understand. I mean, I say yeah, that kind of thing does happen. Because like I say, fella talked about that back in 1986. I want to go on too long, man. I'll land my plane right there.
Appreciate it, Anthony, and thank you very much for not going into detail on what you've seen. I still have my Saturday night to go, and I'd rather you spare the details as you did. I appreciate it. Before we continue with this panel, let's read some of these comments in the chat. Cheryl asked, "Does he have protection for saying who did it?" Possibly not. I mean, I'm in Kenya, sure, but can he ever go to Tanzania again under Samia Suluhu's administration? Would you? Let's just ask that. Not to stay too long on this, but like it's another. Whether or not this happened, it's another person's country. You're there and you're known. For those that don't know, Boniface Mwangi is well known as an activist in Kenya, and here's another fact. So Anthony brought up that Samia Suluhu is the successor of John Magufuli. Under John Magufuli's administration, protests and demonstrations in Tanzania were outlawed. They were banned. Again, they were banned. John Magufuli comes from the ideology that protests and demonstrations, they can lead to rebellion and civil war in a country. So he banned them. It was actually, ironically, last year, Samia Suluhu Hassan, president of Tanzania now, she actually reinstated protests and demonstrations to be allowed in the country. Now, with an activist like Boniface Mwangi, did he think that he could also partake and join in a silent protest and for moral support of the trial of the opposition candidate for Tanzania's government? I don't know. Let's keep reading with these comments. Cheryl asked, let's say it happened. How does he get by? How does he benefit by getting on an international stage and revealing this? Not sure. And then Afroworld asks, got a question. Is this how East African community countries treat each other? I say this, East Africa is just like the African Union. Until you make it your business, it's like, hey, that's your business. That's how I feel like the African Union treats each other. And so thus these smaller political groups, they also say to each other like, hey, that's your business. That's your business. And I have nothing to do with that. You handle your business until and now one can ask, well, Boniface Mwangi was a Kenyan and he's treated like that in Tanzania. But he was treated like that off of the whim that he was coming to support in opposition. So moving forward, Black Steel, what do you say? Is Tanzania a bully in the situation, or were things blown way out of proportion?
100% the bully, 110% the bully. And let me just say, I'm very disappointed on some of the reactions or responses of my fellow panelists and people in the chat. This is rape, right? And I think some of these attitudes are the reasons why people like R. Kelly could go around for 20, 30 years to a local high school and get girls easily, because people want to blame the victim, right? Why is he talking about this? Why is this relevant? Maybe it didn't happen. I'm sorry, that's bullshit. And to be fair, and let's be honest, like, this is the attitudes that lead to more victimization. This man was raped, okay? Period, point blank. I don't care how uncomfortable it makes you. It doesn't make me comfortable about it, but he was a victim, right? And he has a right to talk about his victimization. Be it the fact that he went to support an oppositional government, right? An opposing party. You do not have the right to brutalize another human being like that. That's not acceptable. It's not. So I don't know all the politics behind it, but just from the very thought of it. Okay, you went and supported an opposing leader, fine. Send him back to his country, deport him, whatever. But to beat him, rape him, that's not okay. That's not acceptable. And he has a right to talk about his victimization. It shouldn't have happened to him. I mean, why is it that for some reason we can talk about human rights violations when it comes to these crackers doing it to us. So there was a case here in the U.S. about the black man Amadou Diallo, who got beaten up in the police station in the Bronx, and they inserted a plunger into his rectum to the point where he needed to have surgery, right? And we can all know that's a crime, that's a violation of what happened to this man.
Black Steel.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Steel. I'm sorry. I just wanted to correct you. It was Abner Louima.
Thank you.
What happened?
Thank you, Abner Louima. Thank you. But here we are, in 2025. Oh, did it happen? Why would he tell somebody like that? Do you not think that as a man, nobody wants to talk about somebody putting stuff in your ass and making you say you liked it? Like, that's all, to me, the fact that he even said it makes me think it's true. Because if it wasn't true, there's no way in hell I'd say no shit like that. At the end of the day, I'm still a man. So here we are, doubting him, questioning why is he bringing it up? Instead of us questioning why is he bringing it up? Why is the government using rape as a tactic to eliminate dissent? That should be the question, not the question of why is he talking about it. Why is it okay that this government thinks it's all right to rape people when they don't adhere to what they want? I'll admit, I was born in the United States of America. I'll admit, and I know that U.S. is different. We have laws that protect dissent. You can petition the government. You can protest. I'm sorry, I'm cooking right now, so sorry if you hear something in the background. I kind of got the munchies. Anyways, you can sit back and you can protest and speak about the government and rally. Even right now, the United States right now, right? People in LA are taken to the streets to protest ICE, right? It wouldn't be okay to snatch one of the people off the street and rape them, male or female, and be like, oh, well, this is our country. No, that's wrong. That is wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. We got to be honest. Some shit is just absolutely unacceptable. This is absolutely unacceptable happened to this man. Yeah, he's crying. He's crying because he got raped. Let me rape somebody's daughter, and she's crying. Oh, stop while your blood clot crying. She got raped. Okay? The victim. The victim. Why are we talking about some stop crying? This man has got raped. It blows my mind. And we doing it in June is mental health month. It's absolutely insane. We don't got to worry about the white people. It's crazy. I'm sorry. I'm done. I'm done. All right, I'll let it go.
Yeah, I just want to just real quick. I don't think anybody's victim blaming. I think when you come from a whole nother side of the world and you don't know how things are, like I don't even think people are even thinking about blaming a victim. I think we're just analyzing a situation and we're just trying to see certain things. And sometimes people see things that other people don't see. Doesn't mean that the people are being they're not trying to be nice or they're being mean or we're trying to blame the I just like to ask questions. That's just what you do. But just because a person asks questions doesn't mean that they're not sympathetic. To certain situations. And especially when you're in a whole nother context, in a whole nother country, they speak different languages, they do different things, they do things differently. When you're trying to understand the whole spectrum of everything that's going on, I think that's where people are more coming from. Like why would one get on a international platform to do that? And we're just trying to understand if he's doing this and if it actually happened, there must be some type of protection that he has because he feels free enough and bold enough to come onto a international platform to do so. So he must have some type of protection. That's what we're surmising. That's what we're suspecting. Okay, because that's very bold. That's not something that happens every day when somebody gets raped and they decide they want to go on an international stage and do that. Because it's not just in their country. We're seeing it everywhere. So it makes us question certain things, and I think that that's okay to question.
Hey, but Cheryl, I want to Jack there. I want to ask our sister Cheryl a question.
Please,
a question. Okay, I'm saying Sister Cheryl, say I'm just using hypothetically. Say if you was a political activist, okay, and you was in this country, say in this country, Wakanda, and doing that, and that happened to you, and what and then afterwards, after it happened to you, you got at least you left Wakanda and you went somewhere, and you got on a platform. Maybe you wanted to expose what happened to you and the kind of government that there was. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you hear what I'm saying? Okay, this is what happened to me over there. This is, this is kind of the system that they have over there. I'm just, just trying to present another scenario. Go ahead, Sister Cheryl.
Guess what I would do if something? Well, I can't say, well, if something like that happened to me, because it's never happened to me, right? But if you want to try to expose somebody else's country and you get on an international platform, it doesn't. That doesn't make sense to me. You trying to expose another country, you better be protecting your ass. You can't just be out here just out here just doing stuff. You better have some type of protection because they coming for you, right? Because I know it's an emotional thing. Abuse is a serious thing, but also you got to protect your ass, literally.
I mean, this man is speaking out against his brutalization. At this point, he doesn't care. I mean, they've already threatened his family. They threatened his family. They threatened him. They brutalized him. They raped him. Then
I'll be focused on figuring out how to. I mean, moving in silence. I mean, what?
Everybody handles things.
That's why I'm saying everybody handles things differently. That's why I said I can't say what I would do because it hasn't happened to me.
Right, but we all handle trauma differently. But me, I'm not questioning the fact that he's speaking out against his trauma. In fact, I think more people should speak out against the trauma because then you have this. So let's be clear: this is an international human rights violation. This is not something we could just poo-poo about. If migrants coming into America were getting raped in ICE detention centers, which they are, this is an international incident. So to me, I think that more people should speak up. Yeah, I understand it's embarrassing. He's afraid, but I think that overall, this is people using rape as a weapon, right? And this happens very often, unfortunately, that these people are using sexual violence as a way to
6 million women in the Congo got raped.
Yes, and that was very deliberate how they would rape these women in the Congo and use it as a way to silence them.
Real quick before anybody else goes, because we are live on YouTube, if we could try to stay away from some of these words like that R word, just because I'd want to keep this episode going until we can.
Grape. Okay, I'll say grape. Sorry, I forgot sometimes that hey.
But again, I'm not denying anything happened. I'm just saying people tend to get really emotional when you ask questions, and asking questions doesn't automatically mean that people are being insensitive. People just want to know certain things. That's it.
A lot.
Sure, I agree with you 100. I'm sorry, I agree with you 100%. I know where you're coming from because, like I said, when I was listening to the brother, it was a part of me in my mind I was kind of skeptical, but then I came back. I said, well, no, man, this man is saying this. I had to think about. I had to weigh on it for a minute. You know what I'm saying? I did. I had to weigh. I was thinking about it because I was seeing some of the same stuff. But I just like. But he put this out here, man. I think, to me, I think he was telling the truth.
And if he's telling the truth, I hope he has the protection that he needs. And, human sex trafficking is huge, especially in America. It's huge. In a lot of places, it's a huge money-making thing. But People have questions. They're gonna ask. Like we need to learn to like keep like just because it doesn't mean we disagree with what happened. Because like I said in the beginning, I don't know how people get down over there. If that's what they do, then that's what they do. But I'm just asking certain questions. That doesn't mean I disagree with what's going on. We just want to know. But people tend to kind of like shut that down when questions are asked. And that doesn't mean that. If anything, asking questions means we care and we want to know exactly what happened and why it happened in that way if we're unfamiliar.
Wow. Pretty heavy. I do want to try to get one last panelist to speak on this. Before we do, let's read some of these comments here from the chat. Cheryl said, let's say it happened. Oh, well, excuse me, that we did that. Provide Trigger says, frankly, I think that we as Pan-Africanists do perpetrate the status with own belief systems. There is no need to explore the issue of our own, I don't know what that word is, but sovereignty. And the last panelist, if he wants to share his thoughts. Koku, what say you? Is Tanzania a bully, or was it thrown out of proportion and out of context?
Oh, I didn't have any warning that I was going to be called upon here. Just to address the whole thing, when I heard the story initially, I thought he was but I thought he was physically assaulted, not sexually assaulted. Then I realized later he was actually sexually assaulted. So my apologies there. But I mean, if he was a peaceful protester and all of that had to happen, then I would have to say he was bullied, but that's as far as my thoughts go there.
Appreciate it, Koku. Man, this would be the time that I would ask for any rebuttals, but we got to get you guys on with the rest of your guys' Saturday. Before we do so, you guys already know what it is, man. Make sure that you guys follow Better Medicines on X, now Better Medicine Podcast on X. And you guys can always show appreciation. PayPal, Cash App. Koku, don't you forget that dowry conversation. We still need to talk about that, speaking of Cash Apps. This part of the show, though, before we go, we're going to get our shout-outs. That's right, shout-outs. Please take time to shout out as panelists anything that you got going on or anything on your mind. Individuals, groups, services. We'll start off, of course, we have manners. We have good manners and we behave well on this show. Let's start off with the ladies. Cheryl, we'll start off with you. What's your shout out? Cheryl, you still with us? You gotta take yourself off mute. Looks like it is bedtime, huh? All right. We'll come back to you just in case. Marcus Garvey is the way. Any shout outs from you?
Yeah, shout out to the people here in St. Louis who are recovering from the tornado. And the insurances are not, doing their part for some people. And any other tornado recovery victims in the country. And that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, thank you for coming on to the panel today. We appreciate you more than you know. Cheryl, are you back with us? Are you able to give any shout outs? All right. Anthony, shout outs for this week?
Yeah, man. First of all, I'd like to give a shout out to you, Jacadero, for doing a great job, man, filling in for Koku. You did a great job, man. You know, I think you were born for it, man, to host the show, man. You know what I'm saying? You know, you're a great host, man, and I really appreciate, you know, being part of it. You know, shout out to Koku, man, and his family, man. You know, we keeping prayers up for his father and for Koku's father. Everything. Shout out to the sisters, Marcus Garvey's away, and Cheryl Izzy who joined. Shout out to Black Steel, man, and to everybody in the chat, man. And I want to give a shout out to the people of Congo, man. We got a growing movement among our brothers and sisters in the Congo, you know, who are beginning to speak up for themselves. You know, I've been following a couple of platforms on Facebook and on IG, man, and he's talking about, you know, getting rid of the puppet leadership, like Chester Katie and them and all of them in office. You know what I'm saying? And all of the external forces that's exploiting the Congo. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's the black faces or the white faces. And so, and just, man, just a shout out to black people, man. I love black people. I love all of us with all our different opinions and views and everything, man. And like I said, man, shout out to Jacadero. I say, brother.
Thank you, Anthony, and a big shout out to yourself as well. Koku, did you hear that? I was born to take your job, huh? When I came out of my mom's womb, I was born to take your job. How about that?
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
I know. I kid. Black Steel, shout outs for today.
Man, shout out to the panel. Great show tonight, Jacadero. You was a good substitute, you know. Hopefully when Koku gets back, he won't make us do any book work like I make my kids do. They act up with the sub. But shout out to the people in LA, man. It's going down right now. They got the ICE agents barricaded in the courtroom in LA. So it's about to get real interesting. I think that America is about to get real crazy pretty soon. So yeah, the ICE agents getting back into a corner. They call it LAPD. Next step is the National Guard. So it's I mean, a lot of our people are out there, but not that many. It's mostly a Latino thing, but you know, the Latino voters overwhelmingly supported for this. So I mean, it is what it is. But it's interesting times we live in right now. So.
Appreciate it, Black Steel. Yeah. Oh yeah, they got a lot going on in Cali, as well as other states as well. I see that are having resistance against ICE agents. In the comments, we got shout out. Trigger Happy says shout out to Ngui Wathiogo, who recently passed away, legendary author. You know what's funny is that my mom.
Man, I forgot that. Shout out to Ngugi.
Man, shout out to him. Rest in peace, rest in paradise. My mom had she in elementary school, she did a poem, and I believe, if I can remember right, she said that he was one of the orators for that poetry contest that she won. So man, he has a big impact on my mom's life. Why she got into poetry was because of his work. So
hey, Jacadero, I have Decolonizing the Mind in my library right now.
Look at that, man. Rest in power, Mr. Wathiogo. Woo! And last but not least, Koku, any shout outs that you got?
Yeah, real simple, man. Shout out to everyone who came out tonight in the chat, because I know you guys weren't completely certain there was going to be a show tonight. I did post it in the Discord. I did post it on the post page of YouTube. So you guys should always check that out. I usually tag everyone when I post in the Discord when there's a show. But I saw some people saying they didn't know we were on tonight. But this is what the format will be when I cannot personally be here. Jacadero will step in for me. So my shout out really is to Jacadero as well. He, like I said earlier, he came through, he asked me how could he help, and this is the product of him this is the product of him stepping up, I guess you could say. So shout out to Jacadero tonight. Peace.
I appreciate it, Coco. I appreciate it, boss. I appreciate it, boss. It's awesome. It's an honor. One, just to be able to keep the show going. We love the show. As you can see, people love the show, Coco. And so if it means us, how they say, rolling up our sleeves and getting our hands dirty, we gonna do it. We gonna do it, boss. We got you, boss. We about that action, boss. As far as for me, you know, what shout outs do I got? Of course, we got my group, the Empowerment Network. That's right, the Empowerment Network. For those that don't know, Jacadero, I'm based out of Omaha, Nebraska, and is the home of the Empowerment Network. The Empowerment Network, that's right. The Empowerment
Jacadero.
Network. Go ahead.
I want to show you real quick. Look.
Hey, big shout out to you, Anthony. And shout out to
you
Anthony.
see it?
I see it.
You
I see it. So big shout out to the Empowerment Network. This is the Black Empowerment Group, the largest Black empowerment organization in the Midwest. I'm a part of that. And every year we put on the annual Rebuilding a Village conference. This year it was held on May 16th through the 18th of this year. And we had a special event. Why was it special? It was because the Empowerment Network backed John Ewing Jr. Who is John Ewing Jr.? The first Black mayor of Omaha that was elected this past May. The Empowerment Network backed him, and we thank the city of Omaha for being able to come together and getting out the last mayor that was in power for 14 years and really had a hard time with taking accountability, as well as making sure that she was stuffing the pockets of the police commissioner. The police commissioner, and North Omaha is a historically Black neighborhood in Omaha, and the police and North Omaha have historical terrible relations, and she was one of those that continued to fuel the terrible relations between the two. John Ewing, former deputy sheriff himself, great relationship with North Omaha as a product of North Omaha. Nonetheless, the Empowerment Network, for those that want to get involved, you see the banner that's flying. So big shout out to the Empowerment Network. And also, big shout out to each and every one of you guys. Koku, a big shout out to you and all the panelists and all the viewers that are watching. Man, I love Shoot the Breeze. This is episode 197. With that being said, come on, let's get out of here. Let's get you guys on with the rest of your guys' Saturday. Peace and blessings. Enjoy your guys this weekend.
Thanks for listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast with your host, Koku. If you like what you just heard, we hope you pass along our web address, bittermedicineblogs.com, to your friends and colleagues, and share our show to all your social media. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts. This has been a KWAZ radio production. Join us next time for another session of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Bitter Medicine Show, Twitter, Bitter Meds, Tumblr, Bitter Meds, Instagram, Bitter Medicine. Thanks for listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast with your host, Koku. If you like what you just heard, we hope you pass along our web address, bittermedicineblogs.com, to your friends and colleagues, and share our show to all your social media. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts. This has been a KWAZ radio production. Join us next time for another session of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Bitter Medicine Show, Twitter, Bitter Meds, Tumblr, Bitter Meds, Instagram, Bitter Medicine.